All right, guys, today we got a special guest that many of you may not know. He's been around hip-hop royalty. Smooth, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and let the people know who you are?
SmoothTheEngineer, co-owner of Pirate Recordings, one of the major studios that was on the Lower East Side and Midtown Manhattan in the 90s. Worked with a lot of different artists in the game. I'm a producer as well, head engineer. Here we are.
All right, so let's start at the beginning. You're from the Lower East Side or you're from the Bronx?
I lived in just about every borough except for Queens. So I'm basically like, yeah, I'm from all over.
So you got to like be really well-rounded because you got to experience like everywhere pretty much.
Yeah. I lived out of town for a few years prior to getting to New York. I was in Baltimore, VA, came to New York, and I was a Governor's Island boy. A lot of people don't know about Governor's Island, but I was one of those cats.
Damn, man.
Yeah.
So do you feel like because you was moving around so much that you never really got settled, or like you actually liked that?
At first I didn't like it because I was young and I wanted to be settled. You get a group of friends, and about 2 or 3 years after you move on, you got to start all over again. So it was a challenge, but it was something that made me more well-rounded, you know? It gave me an opportunity to meet different people and live different lifestyles.
But, and you're black, right? Because I know a lot of people confuse you for being Latino.
All the time. I'm not mad at it. It happens all the time, though. I get it all the time. You know, they speak to me in Spanish. I try to kick it back a little here and there, but yeah, I'm a black man, you know.
What was that like for you growing up?
Man, it was crazy. I had friends that would come to my house, eat dinner, be there with my moms, my whole family, and still go back to school thinking I was Puerto Rican. I'm like, it ain't no offense, but you sat down and broke bread. We ain't have no Spanish food. We ain't speak a lick of Spanish, but hey, they always thought that's what I was. So until I told them, like, yo, you know, after years of knowing me, you know, I'm black, bro. Word. Oh, shit, I didn't know. Crazy.
After years, that's crazy.
Yeah, with some people, yeah.
So what would you say was your favorite borough to live in?
To be honest, the BX. The BX.
And why is that?
The BX was like home, man. It was a lot of family-orientated, like, situations that happened in the BX.
The culture?
The culture was just knowing like I was like in arm's reach of where hip hop began. That was one thing, one part about it. And then the people just treated me not like no other borough didn't, but the BX just gave me a lot of love, man. And I love being there. Like I miss it. And a lot of people talk trash about the BX. They think it's one of these grimy, hard, you know, body boroughs. It is. But if you get in where you fit in, it's a nice place to be.
There's a certain energy that you feel, though, when you're there.
Yes, this is true.
You know what I mean?
And like I said, the camaraderie was dope. Like, you could go to the basketball court, running to so-and-so. Next thing you know, they having a tournament. You in the mix of that. Then you on the block. You meeting this person, that person, forging relationships. I built a lot of relationships when I was in the Bronx. I mean, I do everywhere I go. I'm like, you know, like I said, I'm all city. But the BX was like a place that I really like call home, and I was there for like 9 years. So that was like not the longest place I stayed. I mean, I'm in Brooklyn now. I've been here longer than anywhere. Been here for like 12. So, but I moved around. Staten Island,
right.
Governor's Island, Harlem, the Bronx, Brooklyn. Like I said, I touched every borough but Queens.
You know, what's so amazing about that, though, is like, because then while you're listening to hip hop, especially New York hip hop, of course, it's like the words that you're hearing off of the track, you can visualize it a lot better because you've lived at all these different places.
Yeah.
Like, you know more of like the energy and the feeling that they're talking about in the records.
Yeah, you touch bases completely on that. Yeah, like living in Staten Island is like now, you know, you're seeing, I'm going to Park Hill, hanging out with people. I was in, you know, Berry Homes. I'm over Mariners Harbor, you know, all these different places. And then you get a feel for what the music is speaking for on the island. Then you go to the Bronx. I'm 5 minutes away from Bronx River. I'm 5 minutes away from Bronxdale Projects. This is right where everything started. So I'm living it up with cats that been there forever, telling me stories I never would know, and being on blocks that history has been made. Same thing in Brooklyn. You in East New York, Bed-Stuy speaks for itself. So just being all over definitely gave me a feel for the energy in each person's music that came from those areas.
So if you had to describe the people from each borough, like this is what Brooklyn dudes is like, this is what Brooklyn girls is like, you know what I mean? Each borough, how would you describe that?
Oh man, I don't want to downplay nothing, because I don't want to make nobody feel bad or nothing, or put nobody else on the pedestal. But yeah, the BX can be hard body. Females can be hard body. They come off with a totally different aura. They ready for war.
A little more aggressive?
A little bit more assertive, I should say. Yeah, we can use that word. And Brooklyn,
they willing to fight just like the dudes is.
Yeah, they ready. They ready. They ready. They down with you, arm in arm. And I mean, the Lower East Side had a lot of characters like that too. I mean, I got family on the Lower East Side that to this day, unbreakable, friendships. And there's a lot of people that on the low is different. It's about getting money, being flashy, getting in where you fit in. Like in Brooklyn, it's more about getting money and all that, but they cut your throat in a second if they had to, but they're going to be brotherly love. You know what I'm saying? So it's different in every place. And in Staten Island, that's just like a borough where everybody just different in different areas. It's just different, bro. It ain't like any
melting
other borough.
Pot?
What's that?
It's kind of like a melting pot.
Yeah, but it's the lost borough in a sense. Even though Wu put Staten Island on the map, it's still a borough that a lot of people don't know a lot about. They don't travel to the neighborhoods. If they do, they just getting off the ferry, looking around, doing whatever. It's a lot going on out there. I used to run with Don Pacino and Killer Army, and they got a lot going on. Prior to that, I had my man Shicey from Park Hill, so I would be like, you coming off of fire escapes going inside the apartment in the U building because they done broke down the door from the outside and they can't get in and out from the regular door. So, it's different, man. Different boroughs, it's different things. But I enjoy, being able to be a part of like the New York life. It's beautiful.
Right. So why did you never go live in Queens?
I don't know, Ma. I just never, I got friends in Queens that I go hang out and chill with, but just never got settled. Queens is kind of crazy, like to understand that the addresses alone, like you on 107th Ave and 95th Street, like you can throw me in the middle of some places in Queens, I can't find my way out. I know everywhere, every other borough is easy to maneuver. It's different in Queens. For real.
Queens get the money.
Yeah. I guess, maybe I'll end up there. Who knows?
Right. So at what age did you start to realize that you had an interest in music? Did that spark early on?
Oh yeah. That was real early. Like we talking like 9, 10. I had older brothers around me that had DJ sets, and I was intrigued by that. So I started off doing that. I was DJing. Picked up that trait when I was like 11, 12. Got my own set. Started just investing my time and money in records and equipment, and I was running with that. I ran with that for like the beginning part of my career. I mean, I remember the first piece of equipment I got, though, to be in general, was just a beat machine. My mom's bought me a simple little beat machine with pads when I was like 10 or 11 for Christmas. I don't even remember. It was like this gray joint that had like 8 pads with each one was a different drum. And, right. You couldn't record nothing, but you could practice. So that's what I did. I got the passion for that. And then I just ran with the whole DJ world. And once I got into that, I went crazy. Like that was my passion. So that's what my name.
So that was the first element that you really picked up?
Yeah.
Like you weren't doing breakdancing or graffiti?
Oh, yeah,
or anything?
yeah. I had the kid to play moves and all that with my mans and them when I was young, we tried to do talent shows, and also I did every facet of the genre, man. Like
Yo,
graffiti.
did you have the haircut too?
Oh yeah, I had the flat top. I had the flat top. I had the little dye in the middle at some points. They used to call me kid, because of the kid plate. Like I had the real like big joint, bro. Like you know what I'm saying. Always kept it clean though. But yeah, I was part of the culture from the time I was a kid. I loved it. Like I remember my first record I ever bought was LL Cool J's album,
Which one?
Bigger and Deffer.
Oh man.
Bigger and Deffer. Then from there I got the 45 of EPMD. It was I shot the sheriff. And I used to cut on
Ooh.
that on my regular little turntable in my bedroom. And the radios that got the EQ, the tape deck.
Right, right.
Yeah, I had one of those. I used to just act like I was scratching on that till I could get, the money right to get a turntable. I bought my first straight arm turntable off my uncle for $15. That's how I started. I had two straight arms.
Wait. So the one that was connected to the radio, you had the cassette too
I had
attached to that, so you could record it.
It was a cassette tape, dual deck, the EQ, the tuner, and on the
Oh
top was the
man.
turntable. So I wasn't able to record what I was doing, but I was able to like kind of practice my rhythm with the scratching.
Got you.
So once I got that down, it was a wrap. So I remember the summer when I was like, I think I just turned 11 to 12, it was like 89 or something. I said, Moms, listen, I just need money for a mixer. And she was like, all right, I'm going to see what I could do. She came through for me, got the mixer. I got two straight on turntables. I bought one for my uncle. I was gifted another one. And I that was it. I was off and running from there. It wasn't nothing crazy, but it was my start. And then after that, I just ran hard with it.
Did you ever try to rhyme?
Yeah, I did a little bit of freestyling on it. Like I never really wrote any rhymes. So when I had the studio, I would go in the booth and I just go line for line. So I spit 2 bars and like, yo, play it back. I'm gonna spit 2 more, play it back.
Oh, so you did like the Easy E thing,
Just kept
bar by
going.
bar recording.
And then before you know it, boom, I got 16. All right. I listened back to like, yo, that was kind of dope. It was my ideas of whatever I was going through at that time. It wasn't like something that I was scripting. It was just something that I felt.
Right.
Yeah. So it came out better that way. It was just all natural.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that was my little bit of dabbling with rapping, but I'm not a rapper. That's not, I could train you on how to sound right in the booth, but that's not something I do.
Right, right.
Yeah.
That's not something that comes natural to you.
Nah.
So even if people don't know you by name, they know some of your work. Like if you're a Big Pun fan, then you've most likely seen this interview of him standing by his car, leaning on the car. When did you meet Big Pun?
So funny story, like we always been kind of connected to like Pun, but I directly. So I had people that were his people, that was my people. And I would see him here and there, like even when he was Big Moondog, when he was with Full Eclipse, he came
You were
down
living
to
in the Bronx at this time?
Nah, I was on the Lower East Side.
Got you, okay.
So he would come to the Lower East Side with my man B and do like they come to the park and be real. They wasn't even doing like music for us at that time. They would come to the park just to entertain the kids. And they would have some of the guys dress up like Power Rangers and different characters just to be there to have a good time with the kids. But they was real dudes. We knew that because if anybody ever did something that was funny style, like one of them try to smack the Power Ranger in the face or something, being funny, yeah, that dude got it. After the event was over, that dude got it. And I'm like, oh, okay, these are some real dudes. That's how I started to find out who Full Eclipse was. And, him being Big Moondog at the time, my man, then later on introduced us at another time period, a little bit later than that. Maybe I like to say 2 or 3 years later, I ended up getting in effect with my man Joe Bless, Sing does Terror Squad. And he was managing us, and he basically was like, look, I want to take you to see him, and you guys get do an interview. We were doing a pirate radio show at the time, 91.9 bad radio. It was illegal, but we was popping in New York. So we did the interview for audio. So it wasn't even visual at the time. We used the camera just to get the audio to play it on the radio. And then later we put it up on YouTube, and that's how everybody saw the Big Pun interview. But to be real with you, that was just supposed to be audio that we played on the radio show.
Wow. So the microphone that you're holding is connected straight to the camera.
Yes. Yes. So the guy that's behind the camera is my man Sing Sing, Joe Bless. So we went to Pun's crib. You know, he got the bikes out in the front. He's popping at this time. He just dropped the first album. He drove with us, but we drove with him.
So this is like 98?
This is 99.
99, okay.
Yeah, it's the summer of 99. I'll never forget it because it's the day after my firstborn child was born. So I was supposed to be at the hospital signing papers, and I'm there doing an interview with Pun. Like, yo, they had to wait on that for me. That's a crazy story in itself as well, but
Wait a minute. Because if you look at the video, you look like a little kid still,
yeah,
bro.
so I was 20, I was 21. You know, my firstborn child.
You was crazy scrawny at the time too. You look like a teenager, bro.
Yeah. I mean, I'm running the streets, man. I'm outside, so I wasn't worried. I wasn't sitting up in the house, and I was outside every day, like all day. We was doing something, going somewhere, making something happen. So, yeah, that was like I said, my daughter was born the day before that. We was in a meeting with Joe Bless to make that happen, and then the next day, boom, we go to Punch, pick him up. And funny story, the bike that he has on his album cover, the yellow four-wheeler, he purchased it while we were doing the interview. That's why we went there, so he could buy that. And we were just doing the interview in the meantime while he was doing his purchase, you know, and that ended up on his album cover.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So what was your first impression of Pun when you met him?
Oh, man.
Like, I know you had preconceived notions because you saw him from afar for, you know, a few years and everything. But like when you actually met him, like, what did you think?
I was just in awe, man. I ain't going to lie to you. Like, I was just happy to be able to be there and have that moment with him, because it was just like, wow. Even though, like, it was kind of like we all knew each other and we was real cool because of the people we was connected to. But it was still like, wow, this is Pun. Like, whoa, this is that dude. You know what I mean? And I'm just studying, and I was just I was happy and eager to be there to be able to interview him. So I wanted to make sure I was on my A game with my questions so I could give him an interview that I think that a lot of people wasn't, you know, going to give him and ask him. But at the same time, I was humbled because I'm just like, wow, this is that dude. And he was so down to earth that he made it easy. You know what I'm saying? He was a people's people, man. Like real talk. I don't know if a lot of people know, but he was a real giving type of dude. The guy he had a kid with him that was like homeless that he had taken in at the time and was taking care of him like if it was his son. But this is like, you know, a grown, you know, like an 18-year-old kid. And he went with us to the venue and all that. Like, he rode in front of us on the dirt bike while Pun was in the 600. A funny story, I remember looking in the 600 Benz when he sat up and got out, and it was like all these McDonald's wrappers and all that he was sitting on and on the floor. And I'm like, wow, this dude's a real foodie. He's a real eater. Like, you know, that stuck out to me too. But he was genuine. He was, and at the same time, I don't know, like in the interview, at one point, somebody drove by playing some Hove. And at the time, he was really anti-Hove, you know, so.
Right, they had that beef.
Yeah, so he kind of like under his breath was like, yeah, you know, like niggas like that. That's what I'm trying to get after. I'm like, oh, okay. But it's subliminal, but at the same time, he wasn't scared of nobody, man. He was a real dude, man. And it was a pleasure for me just to have that opportunity and those opportunities after to be around him.
So it was the start of a relationship that lasted much longer after that interview.
Yeah, I had a chance to like go to the studio, play some beats, you know, try to get some joints that he was already working hard on the album. He had you know, things already situated, but I had an opportunity to go. I was on the MPC. That was my thing. Like I would do all my beats on the MPC 2000, the XL. So I went there with my beats loaded up and was just ready, you know, for whenever he was ready to listen or whenever he was ready to give me an opportunity to play my music for him. And he gave me that chance. We just never made anything together. You know what I'm saying?
And this was the time he was recording Yeah Baby.
Yes. Yeah. He was in, I think he was in like Battery Studio at that time. And that's the first time I met, a lot of the TS members that I didn't know at the time, like
Right.
Tony Sunshine and so on and so forth, Cube. And, Cube really gave me an opportunity because of,
We're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that.
yeah,
Okay.
okay.
But that was you and Dren Starr that interviewed Pun,
Yes,
right?
sir. Dren Starr was my
Okay.
partner in crime, yeah.
So you guys had something called Bad Radio at that time. How did you come up with that idea?
So there was a dude that was doing pirate radio, but he was doing like house music. And he was based out in Brooklyn. So he was the creator. And he was, we met up with him and he basically was like, look, I need some dudes that do, rap, hip hop music to fill this void that I can't fill. So he gave us the opportunity to learn through him, like how he had the setup going. And we basically did like the hip hop side of it through him, my man Centronics. So Centronics was the forefather for the pirate music radio station. And then from there, we just started doing our own thing. Like once a week, we would do like a 5-hour set. So he had 2 hours. We would do 2 hours apiece. So we do 45 minutes of music, 15 minutes of talking, 45 minutes of music, 15 minutes of talking. And we just did that. And the talking ended up becoming phone calls so we could interact with the people to see like, just check the temperature of what was going on in the city and people feeling us or not. And then that just spawned off to a whole nother, like it blew out of the frame, the pirate. And at that time, again, nobody was doing pirate radio in New York. That was like a Southern thing. You go to Florida, there's a pirate radio station everywhere at that time. But nobody was doing that in New York. Hot 97.
Because you said that wasn't legal, right?
Nah, it was illegal. It was illegal. We were still in the airwaves. The FCC didn't like us. They definitely didn't like what we was doing. And they caught up to us, because we went viral and we did a UPN 9 broadcast with Barbara Nevis Taylor. It was the I-Team News Report. You can check that on YouTube as well. We did that, and then she wasn't supposed to say our location. And, at the end, big up to Barbara Nevis Taylor, but she said our location, kind of blew us out the frame. So next session we did, police showed up with the FCC.
Damn.
So it was like, shut it down and we taking everything. But we ain't shut down. We was pirates, man. What you do when you're a pirate? You get on another ship, you take over again. So we was moving location. So we went from the lower to Brooklyn, from Brooklyn back to another side of the lower. We were just setting up shop and rocking out. But they kept following and chasing us. So we dipping and diving like, in and out. Just to play music, just to play the music that the majors wasn't playing, the mainstream wasn't playing. We was playing songs and records that the underground, was hard, crazy, but they would never play it on regular radio. So we was exposing a lot of artists that wouldn't get exposure. And
so
we was having a good time with the people too.
At the same time, though, right?
Oh yeah,
that must have been real exciting because,
yeah.
like, it's kind of like a thrill. Like you running, you know what I mean?
I mean, you running, but at the same time, you bubbling in the streets. So people want to hate on you, but they listening. So it doesn't matter. You go ahead. You can say whatever you want to say when you call up or when you see us, but you listening. That's all that matters. You listening. So we would do all kinds of craziness. Like we would rent out limos. We take the limo to give out. Like we meet up with Fubu, get basketballs, T-shirts, whatever they had to give out for promotion, and we give it to the people. This way we keeping people in the streets like, oh, okay, these guys is real. They out here, they on the airways, but they out here, they real people. So we was touching bases, like we was on some real PR shit, like, public relations, but we didn't even know what we was really doing. We was just building a marketing strategy while we was going along with a pirate station. So that was kind of crazy in itself.
Would you say that you were doing something and didn't know that how you were really doing it in a sense? Like you know what I'm saying? Like with the marketing and everything?
Exactly. We knew what we was doing with the music because that's where our heart was. But when it came to like marketing and promoting ourselves, it was just something that was just evolving as we went along. And opportunities presented themselves, we ran with it. We just made it the best that it could be for the moment. Because you never know when it's going to be shut down. So you're just trying to, capitalize as you can and keep it pushing.
But that's crazy that you guys were doing that at such a young age, though.
Yeah, man. I mean, like I said, it was hard work and dedication for a long time, like doing parties, DJing all over the city, wherever I could get in to fit in, we was doing it. And that was something that was a great opportunity for us to practice something that we wouldn't like got the opportunity to do. I mean, like she said on the news report, to buy a real station would have been like 75 million at the time. We didn't have that kind of money, so we had to take what was ours. Just like anybody in the street, they don't give you a platform, you're gonna make a platform for yourself. That's what we did. And we made it something
Right.
that, was historic. Cause like I said, nobody's ever done it. Since then or before then. It was just something that was a one-off. And we ran for a couple of years with that. It wasn't like this overnight. Like that was like 3-4 years of that.
But were you able to make like a good amount of money,
Oh, we
like to
wasn't making no
feed
money.
yourselves?
No money at all.
No money.
Nothing.
So it was strictly for the love. It was pure.
Strictly for the culture. That was it. Like I said, we had people like Dodds Effect stop in, different artists, whoever we could get. But at the same time, we doing this in an apartment, man. Like, rocking out. So what we would do, I don't want to give too much like of educational skills of what we did, but we would basically like pre-record it, right? Like a couple days before on a DAC. So we had a whole show pre-recorded, and then you get everything live off of us talking on them 15-minute increments. So that way we could control it a little bit better instead of having to, do all the music and then sit down and talk. We was able to get the music done first, sit down and talk, and take phone calls. Actually, one time, Angie Martinez called the hotline because we was bubbling like that. Like they was wondering, like, what's
Wow.
going on? Who are these dudes? Where they coming from with this? How they doing this? Yeah, it was getting there, bro. And that's why we got like, I said, shut down. But even with the shutdown, we kept it pushing for a while before we actually stopped. And then that's how we parlayed into Pirate Recordings. Pirate Recordings was, from the foundation of the pirate radio.
Right. That was going to be my next question. So you were a part of Pirate Recordings, and that was the studio.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
In the Lower East Side. Now that was something that you did with Dren and Uncle B.
Yeah. So B was like the benefactor, investor / mentor. He's the one that pushed us to like, yo, listen, y'all got some things going on. Y'all making some numbers out here. I'm going to put my backbone into y'all. I always wanted to do this anyway because he was already affiliated with the big dogs. So, he took us in like his sons, let us rock out. And then, from there, it was basically our studio that we ran, but it was B's studio. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it was his. Like we did what we did so that we could benefit him in the long run, get him in the limelight and make sure that he had money in his pocket when we got money from doing it. But that was our passion, Like I went to school for engineering. So that was already a path that I was going to run with anyway. It was just the perfect timing that he gave us the platform to be able to do something that we probably wouldn't have pushed ourselves so hard to do without his backing, And it came with some rules and some regulations of how he wanted it done, and we just did it that way and got it going. That was I like to say that was like December '98 that we actually launched, and then we ran full speed with it from there.
So at this time, are you making a decent amount of money from being a sound engineer?
Nah, so to be honest, like anybody that starts a business, when you building a business, you making money, but you putting the money back in the business. If you're a smart person, that's what you do.
Right.
So we're putting the money back in the business to make sure that the business can grow. So I didn't want to. We had enough to start off the foundation right, but we wanted to build it up and make it something that was actually successful and people would actually want to be there. So we did what we needed to do to actually get clients and build it and get the money. So I wasn't taking no money. I was putting all the money back in the business. And I did that for years because at the same time, I'm working a 9 to 5 to feed my family. Like I said, I had a daughter at the time. That was my one and only child. I had to make sure I had that taken care of while I'm still doing this. So
you're doing what you have to in order to do what you want to do. So you're using your 9 to 5 to funnel the dream. I got you.
Oh yeah. And then I'm in there, 12, 14 hours out of the day. I'm sleeping for years, bro, like 2 to 4 hours
That's crazy.
willingly. Like, yo, let's do it. Come out of work, let's get it. We in there. Weekends, in there all day. Got to a point like the first year I took off from work for like almost a year where I was just working weekends just so I could grind it out and get it to where it needed to be. Then after that, I was like, all right, I could balance this. Balanced it out. And then we was full speed after that. Things was just popping.
So Uncle B, he helped fund Full Eclipse, right?
Yeah, he was a big factor in Full Eclipse. He was always family for, Pun, Cuba, everybody always looked up to him. Like he was somebody that you could go to and he give you the shirt off his back, man, and make sure you all right. And he did that. Sometimes you didn't even expect it. Like, he was the guy that just put everything together for everybody. So if it wasn't for him, a lot of us wouldn't have been able to be successful the way we were. He was the foundation to that.
And he ended up signing Full Eclipse to like a production deal or something like that?
I can't really say. I don't really know because he had his hands in so many things, man. I don't know
Right.
how he was doing what he was doing. Like that guy probably never got sleep, man, because he was just always into something and always there. So he probably
Wow.
did. I couldn't say for myself seeing that. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure he probably did.
Got you. Because I thought that he had to like negotiate with Joe or something like that when Pun finally got signed. Something along those lines.
That might be a possibility. You have to ask, like, the people that are
Cuban,
still,
right?
yeah, Cuban might know that more than I do, because at that time, like I said, when they was doing all those moves, I was just a kid on the block making music. And then, they was already doing that. So when I met them, they was already in the game. They was already like running full speed.
Uncle B passed away, right?
Yeah, God rest his soul, man. Suddenly he passed away. It was like he went to sleep, then wake back up. It
What
wasn't,
year was this?
wow, that had to be like 2004. I like to say about
Oh man, so
2004.
early.
Yeah,
Early.
it was too early for him, man. It wasn't his time, but I guess it wasn't God's time for a reason. I remember that day like yesterday, man, getting a call from his wife, like, yo, he's still here. You know, he would want you to be here. So get here as soon as you can. And that's what I did. Ran over there, ran into Cuban. We was all in the hallway. Triple Sace, Dren, you know, we stayed in that hallway for hours, man, just talking, man, about what we wanted to do and what he was to us and how we would move forward to benefit, him, like his legacy. But that was a sad day, man.
My
Yeah,
rest in peace, Uncle B, man.
it's a piece, man.
What was your relationship like with the entire Terror Squad?
Um, so early on, we would like meet up at Loud Records or whatever. And I remember like one time Joel had he paid for a van, a TS van, to go to like Jones Beach. It was like some Freaknik weekend. And he basically bought like all these TS t-shirts. So we was out there giving out t-shirts. Be honest, we were like the shit out there because we was giving out them t-shirts. Man, everybody was flocking to us because we was like the plug. So that was my first like occurrence, like just being and promoting with them or for them. And then next thing you know, I meet Tony Sunshine. He becomes family. He's coming to the studio like every day. And then Triple Sace, that's when he kind of like was about to slide off from TS and he was starting Time Will Tell. So he started working with me with his artists all the time. And then I had already had a relationship with Cube, you know, Uncle B had taken me to when he was recording 24 Karat Gold. And when he did that, he was like, yo, come through and make a beat for me. So, I sat in the studio for him for like a good 12 hours, just making some shit right off the whim. And then that's how I met Sunkiss. Sunkiss was there. So, you know, things just started evolving and I became like a Terror Squad affiliate to some extent. I wasn't Terror
Right,
Squad.
you was in the multiverse now.
Yeah,
You
yeah, yeah,
was in
yeah,
the
yeah,
multiverse
yeah.
now.
And it was a nice place to be because, you know, you could get in and you could keep it moving, but at the same time, you know, these are people that you rubbing elbows with that are becoming your brothers, unbeknownst to me at the time, you know. And
Right.
next thing you know, I'm making songs with Tony. We just chopping it up, chilling like we brothers that, you know. And then, you know, Cube and then Six, and then boom, like I said, now Pun is gone at this time though. So that was a sad part too. Like God only knows what that relationship could have been if he was still around. But Pun had
Yeah, so
passed away.
let's rewind a little bit with that. So the time that you had with Pun, would you say that you guys were able to develop a close relationship, or was it more of like kind of just like a professional in passing,
Yes,
like what's up? Kind
it was a professional and passive relationship. Again, I didn't have enough time, man. Like I said, when we started off, it was June. I mean, it was December of '98 when we opened the studio. Pun had passed away, maybe,
think like February of
yeah.
2000.
So it was like a year and some change, and boom. So when everything was starting to bubble and we were starting to make these relationships, we lost him. So when that
Right.
happened, God rest his soul, that kind of like threw everybody into a frenzy. You know, it was a lot of like hurt and pain throughout the TS squad. I remember that like vividly, man. And you know, at the time, I remember feeling like for everybody because I'm like, damn, I get it. Like this is the big homie. You
He was the
know,
heart and soul of TS.
yeah, yeah. He was the glue to the puzzle. So
Right.
kind of was bad timing for, you know, everybody, myself included.
Right.
You know, who knows where. And again, they would speak about that themselves around me, like, damn, you know, who knows why I would have went further if he was still here. Like that was my guy that kept me in position to get to where I was about to go. You know,
So, do you remember the day that you got the news that he had passed? Like, what was your immediate reaction when you found out?
disbelief, man. It was really disbelief. I couldn't believe it because he had just came home from fat camp. I remember that. I
Right.
remember everybody talking about him being away at fat camp and like,
He had just lost
all right,
100 pounds, and he
lost 100
right,
pounds.
and he said it
So
on
you
"It's
like, all
so
right,
hard." You know what I mean? I'm trying to
exactly.
live.
That was that time. So everybody's just like, yo, he about to make a turn for the better. Like this is where he's getting himself progressively better to be a better person, you know, physically, health wise. And that was very unexpected, man. Like, he loved his kids though too, man. I tell you that. Like his kids was always around him. He'd be in the studio, his kids would be right there. It could be midnight, whatever. Like he loved his family. He was a family oriented dude. And that shit meant a lot to me because that's who I am. Like family first,
Right.
music is always gonna be right next to it though. So I understood. I liked that shit. Like that shit was inspiring to me.
So you were talking about the aura of that time within TS after Pun had passed, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel like the conversations that you were hearing from people, was it more selfish in the sense of like, dang, like what's gonna happen for me now that Pun is gone? Or was it more, you know what I'm saying, like focused on the actual loss and hurt?
Nah. First and foremost, it was the loss of hurt, man. I mean,
Okay. Because I've
grown
heard
men.
other people say certain things like, you know what I'm saying, that more focused more on like the selfish side of it.
So I'm gonna tell you from my side, my perspective, I
Hmm.
watched these brothers drop tears, man, like randomly. Like it wasn't like just be sitting there and then out of nowhere just start crying, man. Cause it's like, damn, my brother's gone, you know? And then you gotta sit there and
Are you
console them.
talking Cuban, Sace, and Tony,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just
You got to
everybody? You seen Joe cry too?
nah. So
Okay.
that's a totally different, situation. But those brothers there, yeah, man. Yeah, man. I can vouch for all three of them, like being really like heartbroken, man. And really not on some where my career is gonna go. I guess everybody already felt like, yo, I got something set in stone. I can move with it. But he was the big homie that was about to take us all to the next level with the foundation, you know, and being signed to the foundation, however they was, like even if they wasn't signed, like Cube had his own thing already going on with Atlantic at that time. So he still was always going to be the foundation no matter what. I know that for
Right.
sure because that's the big homie. You know, Tony, forget it. He was all over all they records, man. Like if they record came out, that was his record coming out because he had so many songs on each one of their albums that it was just like a no brainer. And Sace, like I said, my brother, love him. I think he really got to a point where he just was tired of the business and wanted to do his own business. Like he didn't want to deal with the tired of business he was dealing with at that time. I can only speak for what I saw, and he was moving forward as well. He had some artists that was popping that they was doing. They was very talented people, man. You know,
Was
and
Prospect around? Like, do you remember seeing Prospect a lot?
nah, nah,
What about Armageddon?
nope, nah, not
Wow.
not in that circle with us. Nah, they was doing their own thing. You know, that was just that. Like, I ain't really have no occurrences or run-ins with them at all. They was on a whole nother planet with their music and whatever they was doing.
So since you were around, pretty much the full Eclipse side of Terror Squad, right? Did you see Joe a lot? Did you run into Joe a lot?
So to be honest, most of the times of seeing Joe was like in the studio. You know, at the time, Cuban had Street Light that he was recording in like for almost a year. So I would be there with a lot of homies that I knew that were affiliates as well, and we'd be there and he'd be there, and be talking and shit, doing what he does, being a leader, of the group at the time, and that was basically it. Like B had a relationship with him, and B did whatever he did with him, but we ain't really have no relationship with Joe.
But were your experiences with him positive though? Like from what you could.
Um, yeah, I mean, I guess so. I mean, like you said at the start of this, like a lot of people thought that I was Spanish, so he would be on the movement of us Latinos got to make it. We got to do this. We got to do that. And I'm listening like, wow, wow, because this is at the time, it was a lot of brothers doing the music, and he was coming in throughout, digging in the crates and all these other brothers that was putting him on. So I guess he felt like now it's time for us to like take over. So I would listen to that and I would take heed to like, okay, it's kind of like a little racist, but it is what it is. It ain't nothing bad, but it's just like I guess he was so pro Latino that he was really pumping that rhetoric at that time. He was trying to take it to another level.
Well, okay.
Because Pun was the first one.
Let me play devil's advocate. Okay, so was it racist or was it just that like he was really proud and trying to put on the other side of it because there wasn't really any prominent, you know what I mean, that within the
So
culture?
I ain't going to downplay. I'm going to tell you straight up. He was on some like the Moyo's been doing this for years. It's time for us to come in. You know what I'm saying? And that's basically how it was stated. And that's how I heard it. And I was just like, oh, okay. Yeah, I get it. It's
But
pro. It's pro. It's pro. But at the same time, it was a little bit of shade there, a little bit.
but he got put on by black artists though.
It's what I was thinking the whole time I'm hearing that. But I'm saying to myself, who am I? I'm just here just listening. I'm just taking in what he's saying. I'm taking in because I'm in a room full of black Latin brothers that are all in the music industry. You got to understand that too. I'm the only person there personally at the time that looked like I was. So I got in where I fit in, but here we go. That's the rhetoric that was pumped because he felt comfortable. He was in his own world at the time too. Like, you're in a closed environment. You got your people that look up to you and you got
So
some
you can
people.
say what you really feel.
Exactly. Exactly. Kind of behind closed doors, but
But was like anybody black working for TS at that time? Or was it pretty much like,
I mean, I guess Armageddon was, part of the crew,
but he's Afro Latino, right? Or is he full black?
I'm not sure, but I know he got black in him. I know that.
Right.
And outside of that, they was getting producers like Buck Wild and all different other type of people. But this is just how the industry works. It's not about somebody being part of the crew. It's about however you can make it to wherever you gotta go and who can get you there. So, it wasn't. I didn't take it at the time like it was like this racist undertone. I just looked at it like, wow, was that needed to be said? I don't know. Maybe it was. I don't know. It kind of had me like just a little. I was just a little like, that was deep. But at the same time, what was that? You know?
And then you kind of like just like compartmentalized it away,
Yeah,
kind
and
of like
I brushed
kept
it off,
moving.
and
Yeah.
I kept it moving. Like it wasn't really nothing that affected me mentally. It was just something that stuck with me. Like, oh,
Right.
that was a deep thought. All right. Yeah.
So you start working with Triple Sace on his album Time Will Tell, right?
Yeah.
The recording process for that album started when he was still signed to TS because you got features with Pun and Cuban and you know what I mean? And what Veronica's on the album too, like Psycho Les is, so more Terror Squad, multiverse people is a part of the album, right?
Yeah. I mean,
So
go ahead. I'm listening.
how was he able to like take that album with him after he left Terror
He
Squad?
didn't. He just started re-recording all new music with new people that were talented. Like I said, he forged relationships with people that he knew, I guess, from the hood and from the industry, and just started rebuilding. So Time Will Tell was a whole new movement after TS.
Yeah, but he got he got a Pun verse though, right? So and that was way after Pun had passed though.
Yeah, so he was using whatever he wanted to use. He didn't care about like any logistics on if he could use it or if it was going to be legal or not. He was just going to do what he needed to do. And if he got a deal with
Oh
it,
wow,
then he
okay.
was going to get a deal with it. That's just how that went. He wasn't like, taking all that, the masses or the music from the Terror Squad situation and moving with it. No, he wasn't doing that. But if he had a verse, yeah, he's going to use that verse.
So you didn't make any of the beats on the project though, right? But you engineered for the project?
Nah, yeah, I engineered on certain songs with him, and I did produce songs that he got on, but it wasn't for his project.
Got you. Okay.
It was times that we would just make music, you know. It was my production, so it's basically I could do whatever I want with it, but it wasn't for his project. If he wanted to use it, I would have gave it to him, no problem.
Any of the sessions that you can remember, like, that really stood out to you with features? Like, were you there for the Ice-T one?
You talking about with Sace?
Yeah.
Nah, he didn't do. See, so at that time, he wasn't bringing those kind of sessions to me. He was doing more grassroots type of music with me. He was bringing people that were, like I said, unknowns, talented, and some that were getting known. Like he had this man Headcrack. Headcrack had did some songs with DJ Honda that made it on Honda's album. So Headcrack would come with him, record with me all the time. I would do songs with him, as well as he had a group. It was two brothers and a sister that they were like the Jackson Three. You know what I mean? They had so much talent in them. So he was working with them with me a lot too. And that's basically like where we stood with it. Like whatever he needed, that's how I was because of B. Like whatever he needed, we facilitated. It wasn't like I was like trying to throw the rope out and bring all this other, work in. It was just like, yo, you need me, I'm here for you. You call me up, say, yo, this is what I want to do. All right, let's do it. But so I didn't really have any affiliates like that come through. I guess just because the opportunity didn't present itself at the time for him when I was working with him.
How would you say that relationship with Sace was like? Were you guys close?
Oh yeah, yeah. Sace is a real good dude, man. He's a down to earth dude. We were close. No shicey shit. No drama. No. Everything was love, man. All love, always. Like we got this saying. We call each other dumb bitch. He's one of the number one dumb bitches. I love him. That's how it goes. So all my people that I met through him too were all great people. So that's one thing that people need to know. Like the industry is terrible, man. You get in the industry and all kinds of shiciness and all kinds of backstab happen because it's a crab on type of crab situation trying to get to the top of the barrel. It wasn't like that with them. It was
Right.
all love. It was all family. And it was like, yo, if we get there, we got you. You get there, I know you got me. So it was all love. It was a beautiful situation.
Do you remember, or do you remember having like any conversations with him about him wanting to leave TS? Like, did he tell you beforehand, like, I don't want to deal with
Uh,
Joe anymore? Like, I just want to leave?
you know what's funny? He never spoke like that. He never spoke like that. Like he was just making moves. That's funny because I actually heard something recently where I was like, oh wow, I didn't even know that he was really on some like, look, get me out the contract. I want to go. He didn't say that. He just really was on some, I'm moving forward
Wait,
and I'm
where'd you
going to
hear that
do what's
from?
best for me. It was something that I think I heard from I heard it in an interview, I think with you. I think you
Yeah, I
was talking
know.
with Cube.
I
And
know.
I
That's
heard
why
that and I was
I just
like,
wanted to do that because I knew that was going to be your answer.
yeah. I was like, oh, I didn't even know he did that. That was when Cube was talking about that event
Right,
for Make a
the Make a
Wish.
Wish, yeah.
Yeah. So when I heard that, I was like, oh, wow. Because he didn't show that to me. He didn't speak about that. So that's another thing. They didn't hold that on their shoulders, that gripe, you know? It was just like, I guess in his mind, like, yo, it's time to move on. It's time to move on. I got to make moves. I'm going to make my moves however I can. And he had us there to help facilitate that.
So he ends up leaving, and what is your reaction when you find out that he leaves?
Um, I kind of wasn't too surprised because of everything that was going on. The tension was already in the air. It was a lot going on. I'll be honest, when everything happened with Cuban, that's when I knew that it was a done deal with that kind of relationship with them over there. And because again,
What
like
do you
you gotta,
mean the Jimmy's incident?
yeah, when the Jimmy's incident happened
Well,
with,
wait, but didn't Triple Sace leave before Cuban had that incident?
it possibly was, but what I'm saying is that was the defining moment of
Got
everyone
you.
being like, it's no turning back, this is what it is, and this is where we got to go because we can't mess with that side anymore. And like I said, when that happened, the tables turned on everything.
Right.
Tony was even in a different position at that time. He was kind of in purgatory. He wasn't really messing with Joe too hard. He was just a solo individual as well. So I think all of them just was like kind of trying to figure out where they were going to go when that all happened and what they were going to do.
Were you in any studio sessions with like where the beat nuts came around?
Now we had a lot of people come through, to be honest, but the Beatnuts never came through to Pirate. But a lot of other people did just off of love. So it's funny because I think like at that time, what was happening was people were still showing, like I said, Cube love, but they were kind of like doing it at a distance. And he would get music from all over the place. It was so my position was a little bit different. You gotta understand, I'm an engineer and I'm a producer, so I'm in house all the time.
Right.
So at this time, I'm not really outside. I'm inside where everybody's coming to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm dealing with whatever popped up, like or whatever we was doing at that moment. So Beating Us was already like doing whatever they was doing. Cube didn't really make any music with them at that time that I was working with him. It was a different scenario for them.
Right. Because, I interviewed the Mighty VIC, right? Shout out to him.
Okay.
And he said that he remembers a session where Joe and Cuban had gotten into it, like a confrontation. I just wanted to know if you ever experienced like seeing any tension amongst the members like that.
Now, it's funny. It'd be times that I would be there and Joe would kick everybody out the control room and they would have their moments. So we would all have, like, everybody that was there got to get out so that they can have their talks and their whatever. So a lot of those things happen behind closed doors where it was just them.
You mean
But you
just
knew,
Q and Joe? Or you mean
yeah,
like,
yeah, just
wow,
Cuban and
okay.
Joe. Yeah, you got like 30, 40 people in there that got to get out and go sit in the lounge and wait till that
But can you
conversation is over.
hear? Can you hear from the lounge? Like what, like if they're screaming or anything like
Nah,
that?
nah, nah. Studios are set up, we talking about this soundproof everything, man.
Right,
With
right.
two doors, one door closes, the other door closes, you ain't hearing nothing. So that's why it was set up that way, so he could have that moment and say whatever he wanted to say and nobody was involved. that happened, whatever happened, and that was it. If you heard the aftermath, you heard the aftermath from one of them talking. But it wasn't really nothing like in front of me where I saw them beefing or nothing like that. Nah.
So Q never confided in you or anything like that during that
Oh,
time.
nah, but after, forget about it,
Well, we gonna go into that too, but
Yeah,
during
yeah.
that time of recording 24K, what would you say the vibe was like for the relationship between them?
Everything was working business. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like Cuban was in there like 24/7. He had engineers sleeping there, taking shifts. And he was just there like I said, it was like 9 months, almost a year, they was recording that album. And it was set up beautifully the way it was strategically made. It was something that it was a work of art, man. And like I said, the business was the business. So Joe would be there to make sure the business was getting done, whatever. And Cuban was there making sure the work was getting done. That was that.
What studio sessions for that album do you remember being a part of for 24K?
Um, like I said, I remember we had that night when Sun Kissed. It was two other brothers there that was hard body, and they were from like Philly and I can't remember their names, but it was always some real people around. And when I say real, like real street dudes that were in the industry as well. But um, wow, what was my biggest moment I can remember? I just remember Cuban setting up the album, like when the songs were kind of almost all done, and him orchestrating how he wanted each song to be placed and where it was placed. And the shit was crazy to me. Like, listen to how he made it. I'm like, yo, this guy is about to blow up. This is going to be it right here. This is the new move. I can't believe that shit never came out, bro. Because that was supposed to be like
I love
the
that
next,
album, man.
yo,
24K
man.
is an amazing album. Like I like Chain Reaction too, don't get me wrong, but 24K
Ah,
was something else, you know what I'm saying? Like he had
yes.
the real, you could tell that there was money behind it because of the production and the
Oh,
features and everything. Like
and the
I can't
sound.
believe, I can't believe when they use the excuse of like, oh, you're only predicted to sell 5,000. That's no way, because even whack artists during that time was selling a good amount of money, amount
To
of
this
records,
day,
bro.
man.
There was no way.
To this day, like that shit is bullshit to me. That was just a scapegoat like situation to get him out of there. Cause that shit was gonna sell. People were out looking for him. He was making music that nobody else was making. He knew how to touch the ladies. He knew how to get the fellas. He had the hard joints. He did it, man.
He had
He put a
the
full
Latino
body of
factor
music.
too. Like he was tapping into that market as well. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
And that was a nuance at that time. There wasn't a lot of people doing that.
Right.
Like reggaeton was still
But he
just,
was ahead of his time though for that.
yes,
You know,
yes,
if he had
yes.
really blown up at that time, I could have totally seen him being really a part of the reggaeton, side of things. Like he could have really went that route if he wanted to.
Bro, that album was fire, man. To this day, that album is still fire, man. And
And
that's
Flowers
how
for
you
the
know.
Dead was really big at that time too, right?
Yes, yes, that was the video. He already had a single for that. He
Mm.
had Telling Lies for Me. And then some of the street joints on there. The MOP, oh man, he was killing them. He was about to smash the streets. And then
Yeah,
boom.
the Men of Business joint where with Nori and
Oh,
everybody on there. Oh man, that's
Rang Tang
crazy.
Punta. I don't give a motherfucker who ya. Yeah, man, that was that, man. Yeah, I guess everything happens for a reason, man. You know, sad that shit went down the way it did because it shouldn't have happened that way.
Right. So do you remember when the situation happened with him and Joe, like where Joe called him whack and Cuban said, "Oh, well, I want out of the contract then," and everything? Like did he talk to you about that before the night at Jimmy's?
So that was like things that he spoke about not feeling comfortable. But again, he was a loyal person, man. He is a loyal person. So he really, in his mind, I mean, I feel like he really thought that he could ride the wave out and it was going to be what it was supposed to be. When that shit happened at Jimmy's, like I said, that was it. That was all. Everything was off the table. Like that shit happened in front of a crowd of people on the stage. You got to remember that this wasn't like some closed moment that was in the corner of the club. This was in front of everybody at an album release party.
Angie Martinez album release party, you know what I mean? So there's a
Exactly.
lot of people,
A
industry
lot of people.
people.
Yes. And he did it on some sucker shit. Like, the way it all happened, dropping the mic, not passing him the mic, this and that, and then him getting cut on the stage like that. And then the people, I remember him speaking about that too to me, like, yo, you know who's your real people when they show up when you hurt, when you in a situation, and some of those people didn't show up. So that was another thing that changed the ball game. It's like, damn, where this nigga at? Where this nigga at? Why he ain't here? Why he ain't come see me and see how I'm doing? So yeah, I remember a lot of that, man. Like, and Q was fiery after that, boy. He's ready to take off heads, man.
Because you found out what, like the day after it happened? Because I don't
Yeah,
imagine that you were there, right?
I wasn't there. I wasn't there because a lot of situations like that I wouldn't go to because I was always on some, yo, I'm an engineer, I'm a producer, I gotta do what I gotta do over here and hold this down, right? So when I would go to certain situations and events, it'd be something crazy that happened. So I'm always like, yo, what are you doing here? You don't need to be here and all this craziness. You got goons here for this. Why am I here getting into the goon work? Nah. So I would stay away from certain situations because I was smart enough to know I don't got time for I can't afford getting arrested. I can't afford going down for a gun charge. I need to be here to make this music. And that's what my passion was. So I stuck to that, bro. So I was in the studio. They would have to drag me out the situations. Like, come on, we going over here, you coming with us. And I'm like, all right, all right. But sometimes against my will, because kind of like a homebody dude when it comes to that, because of the music.
Right. So
So I
what was
wasn't
your
there for that.
reaction though when you found out that that
Oh man,
happened at
disbelief, bro. Disbelief. I was just like, wow, that's a ballsy move. You know what I mean? And then the way he painted that picture, I was like, damn, this is crazy, man. Like,
well, so Cuban
it,
calls you and tells you what happened, or like
yo,
how does it?
he pulled up. He pulled up and just was basically, speaking about how it went down.
Oh, and you see the scar on his face or the bandage, right?
Yeah, and then he just spoke about it for a long time after that. Like it would just come up sometimes, like, just off of like, I guess, pure anger, you know, and just like frustration. Because then the blackballing came with that. Once the blackballing came, then it was a wrap. You know?
Right. And we're going to get into that, but would you say that that was that pivotal moment that like you felt completely changed him forever, that you saw like completely different person after that?
Yeah, he went from a comfort zone to being like, you gotta worry about who he's dealing with, how they dealing with him. He had to kind of like look over his shoulder. Not to say that he was like looking over his shoulder to see who was stabbing his back, but he wanted to make sure nobody was going to ever stab him in his back again. That was a different it was a different Cuban, man. Like for a minute, like he just was on some I don't trust nobody, you know. When I'm out here, I gotta get it however I gotta get it, and I don't trust nobody. I'm gonna take this from whoever I gotta take it from to get back to where I need to be. But he was really hurt, and he was really like I said, I think he was really looking at the world like, yo, if they did that to me, anybody could do that to me. I put my faith in these people, put my trust in
Mm.
them. My whole career was in their hands, and here I am at their demise, and my brother ain't here to back me up. Because if his brother was here, that shit wouldn't have happened.
Right.
That wouldn't have happened.
So it was kind of like a mixture of like major events being back to back. You lose Pun, and then you end up in this like dispute, business dispute with Joe that turns to the streets and everything like that. Like if they had just like shot the fair one, that would have been a different situation. But the fact that whenever anything leads to bloodshed, it's like forget about it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
something else now, you know.
So you lose your brother, you lose your record that's supposed to be this is your first time coming out as a solo artist. You lose that. And then you be betrayed by the people that you put all your faith and love into. Like, I mean, most men couldn't withstand that. They might have turned the cheek and just went and did something real crazy. But he didn't. He stood tall and did what was the next move that was best for him. And that's when he made the move with be like bringing him in with us and saying, look, you ever need a place to make your shit happen, you always got here.
You know what's so crazy is that like on that 24K album, if I'm not mistaken, the Still Telling Lies, that was before the Neptunes really blew up, right?
Yes, this is true.
So like
This is
it was
true.
like he got in early. Imagine if that song really took off the way that it was supposed to, or you know what I mean, that album in general.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy? He did some joints with a lot of big people on that album that, like I said, you know, it was legendary songs that never came out legitimately. And then he ended up making music with other people after that was still like, yo, some money behind it, some crazy music. And then you got a person here and there doing them dirty after that too. So it's like he just had a bad little run for that moment with friendship and people actually being real dudes, man. There was some people. I remember he had this one artist that he did this song with that was a big song, man. Like to this day, I'm like, yo, this song was fire. The video was crazy. And
Which one?
um that was him and Don De Niro
I
and
knew
my
you were
man
gonna
One
say that.
Solo. Yeah, and One Solo. And that song, man, to the moon. Video out of this world, especially for that time. It's like $1 million budget type of video type shit. Like, and then I remember meeting Don De Niro and he was telling me, yo, I made that beat. Yo, I did this. Yo, I did that. I'm like in my mind, like I know Cube's repertoire. I know how he moves. I don't know how true all this is that you're telling me. But that was crazy. I'm like, damn, he's taking all the love from this. He's trying to play, and the shit had a helicopter in it with CLK on it. Like, how you taking all of this, and then they try to take his label. You know what I mean? So it's like he did a lot for a lot of people that took advantage of that love, man. And
Right.
that's got to be a hurtful, you know, place to be in when those things happen. Because it's like, yo, I gave my all, and this is what you want to do. All right.
You, you know what's so crazy about the Don De Niro situation? I've never said this, but I was trying to interview him not too long ago, but I told him I want it to be an honest interview because the type of interviews I do is like from the beginning, right? So that we go through your life, we go through your career, chronological type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I won't do the interview if you're not going to be honest and talk about how you got your name, how you got your start, and everything like that. Because then it's no point in doing the interview. You know what I'm saying? I'm not here to do the type of interview where you just talk about your new album and everything like that. You know, he didn't want to talk about how he got his start, how Cuban helped him get his name, all those different things. He
Yeah.
didn't want to be honest about that. And that's why we ended up not doing the interview and stuff. And you know, they still have like their issues and everything, but
Of course,
it's
I couldn't
sad. It's
see
sad.
myself turning back to that situation and being like a loving dude. Like that, you pulling the rug under my feet and I gave you the world.
Yeah.
Again, Cuban was a made man at the time. He was already in. So he's teaching you this and teaching you that. You gotta show that man a
He
little bit
wrote
of
for
love and
him too.
respect. Yes, yes, yes. So yeah, that was crazy, man. That was a terrible situation, man. But that song is fire. I still sing that shit to this day.
So you worked with Cuban on the mixtape Broken Chains, right?
Yes.
Like that's like one of the big projects that you guys did. Can you describe the aura of that time period?
Oh man. You know, you're at war. You're at war, so we're on the front lines, man. And we at war, so he's making music that that was a great time to be with him. I ain't gonna lie to you. It was a bad time for him personally, I guess, in the business and all that. But yo, we was doing Scarface. You know, we had somebody come play the whole Scarface theme out, and he had me cutting up the parts to put in there to match what he had went through, and then he wrote the song. It was just that mixtape. And then like Tragedy Gaddafi came and was in support. He did some verses for him that was fire, and they was just going back and forth. Then shit happened at the hotel down in Miami. We made a joint off of that. Then everything just
Wait. You were there at the hotel?
no, I wasn't at the hotel. We made the song when he came back from the hotel. That's when
Oh, the
him and
remix
Dren,
to the hotel
yeah,
track.
to the hotel track, yeah. So he came back
So
that
you wanna
weekend.
come to my hotel?
Yes. So that bounced into Hit 'em Up. So it was a two-part song. So it went from the hotel and the Hit 'em Up, which had Tragedy on it. So Tragedy recorded all that with us. We did all of that there, like everything from the recording to the mixing to the actual hosting of it was all done at Pirate Recordings from A to Z.
Wow.
Like, yeah, so yeah, that was a great time, man. I had a lot of fun doing that music. And you know what's crazy? Like, Cuban would push me. He was the type of dude, like, I'd be in there until 4 in the morning. He's pushing me and pushing me. Yo, we got to get this done. But then there was times that I was pushing him. Like, yo, dumb bitch, that ain't it. You got to do it again. You got to do it again. And then, so we had a great chemistry and a great relationship when it came to making music. He trusted me and I trusted him. He taught me a lot, you know what I'm saying, with like I said, with being on top of my shit. I was already a business dude, but he really had me like on some. I was learning a lot recording wise because I was doing things with him that I ain't do with other people. Because I was
Mm-hmm.
always trying to push myself to the next level because I always seen him at that level. So I'm like, yo, I got to step my shit up. I got to make sure that when I'm making this with him, I'm doing something that nobody else could do so that I can be set in stone for what we're doing because this shit going to be historic. And that's what it was, yo, bro. These are some songs that never came out that I'm like, yo, people would have heard this. They to this day they'd be like, ooh, yeah, that's it, that's it. And sometimes I would do things that he didn't want. He'd look at me and be like, yeah, I ain't wanted to sound like that, but I like what you did with it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I had a different vision, but I like what you did with it. And then he gave me the opportunity to produce some joints for the MOB album. I did a song with him and Don Shazino, and then I did a 2 tracks that he put on Warriors is something that I ain't produced, but I had a lot to do with as a co-producer and slash engineer that I recorded the whole thing and put it together. So he gave me a lot of love, man, when it came to the work. Like he pushed me, but he made it worth my while, and that was like a 3-year run. We was there every day, every other day for 3 years, just working.
So you helped engineer the session Letter to the Better, right? The one the track for Pun.
Yeah. Funny thing about that, I didn't have, if you're an engineer, I didn't have an automated board, meaning I couldn't do everything digitally and have it record what I was doing. So I had to manually do that song. So I manually did that whole song. And the producer falling down, my dude, he would put like the whole sync in there. Like if he made a beat, he had like 50 sounds going on. And you got to decipher how it should sound around the lyrics. So again, pushed me to another level where I had to actually sit there and manually mix the whole song with the mutes in and outs of every freaking sound to make it the way it was. And that song came out crazy, man. That was one of my favorites.
And then you did Sugar Daddy with Maya, right?
Yes, that went through a lot of different people. It ended up on Maya. But yeah, we went through a couple of
Oh,
singers.
because it was supposed to be Veronica first, right?
It was,
and then he switched to Maya.
yeah, it was actually this female that we had as an artist that we were recording as a client that she was super dope, JJ. She did the first take and she laid the groundwork. Then he had to get some stars on that. So then he got Veronica, then wanted to move with the Maya. So if you listen to the song, to be honest with you, the ad libs, the intro ad libs is actually JJ. She's
Oh
still there,
wow!
and then it flips into Maya, but the world wouldn't notice that. They wouldn't know. But if you listen to it now that I told you,
Did Maya actually show up in person to do it, or she sent the track?
nah, she did the track, but she didn't do it with us. She did the track somewhere
Oh,
else and then
okay.
sent it. Yeah,
Because that's a
yeah.
beautiful woman, man. Whew.
Oh yeah, yeah. That would have been one of the highlights of my career. Being able
Right.
to meet. But I met some dope people through them.
So Cuban also told me that y'all would run Triz in the studio.
I don't know what you talk about, man. I don't know nothing about none of that, man. I don't know nothing about none of that. That's my brother. I don't know what he talk about. Oh man. Nah, we had a lot of good times though, man.
He's a little crazy, you know what I'm saying? He's a little
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, he is. He is. He's out there, He been a soloist for so long, he can say all kinds of shit, but nah.
Right. No, I know
We
what
had a
y'all
lot of
doing.
good times, man, but what happens in Miami stays in Miami, right?
Right. So when he came back from Miami, right, and that situation that happened with Joe, what would you say the temperature was like? Would you say that he got out some of the anger, or he was more heated than ever?
Oh yeah, nah, that he never got out the anger. That just lit another fuel to the fire. So it was like, okay, the fire's burning now. It's gonna burn a little higher for a little bit, and we're gonna go full speed. But what just happened? So
So now it's an inferno.
oh
Like he
yeah,
just
oh he was just running. At that point, he was burning hot. He was ready to just go at him. So that's how all that shit on Broken Chains came out because it was spoken about on the radio, the situation. We utilized that and capitalized off of that, put it on the song, and then from there, he just was making joints just to get that anger out. So to be honest, it was fuel to the fire. The inferno was lit, and he was just putting it all out in music, man. He was just cranking out all kinds of music that was coming from that in his heart.
Is it true that DJ K Slay was blackballing Cuban during that time?
Yeah, he was calling himself the Black Fat Joe. I mean, he actually said that. Like, I'm the Black Fat Joe. Because he was on some Fat Joe. He was on his, God rest K Slay's soul, man. You know what I'm saying? I don't like talking about people that ain't here because they can't defend themselves. But yeah, at that time, that's what he said. That's how he was moving. And he was definitely an advocate for Fat Joe and what he had going on. And he was anti-Cuban just because of Joe. You know, the same thing with a lot of these dudes, you know, from the Khaled's. So, you know.
Wait, but you got to actually witness K Slay like turning down songs from Cuban or like, because, you know, I interviewed Gilly. I know you know Gilly, right?
Yeah, that's my man. Yeah.
Yeah. And Gilly said that like he tried to hand K Slay, you know, one of the CDs and Slay was like, I can't do that. You know, I can't play that or something along those lines. Man, wrote a clip.
I remember, God rest his soul, I don't even like to talk about it, but I remember I put it in K Slay hand and he didn't want to take it out my hand. He's like, nah, Gilly, I can't touch that. I'm like, word. And me and him ain't talked for a little minute, but then we spoke again. But, you know, I respected it. At that time, I was like, word, I ain't talked to him no more. I ain't talked to him no more. But then when we did Bang Bang Boogie, you know, he came around and I spoke to him then. And I was just like, that shit was whack what you did, dog. But I get it. That's how you felt. That's how you felt you was going to get on. Oh, bro. In this world, you need a sponsor. But to get into a certain society, you need a sponsor. You know, if you don't have a sponsor, if you're not sponsored by someone, even if you're a up and coming star basketball player, to get that super contract, you need to be sponsored by an agent. No,
So what was K Slay's response when you said that that was fucked up what you did?
I don't know what his response was. He God rest his soul. He gone now, but he was just. I was like, word. He was like, oh, okay. I'm like, word, dog. I just turned around and I walked away from him. I'm like, I get it. I mean, no more conversation. We was doing things together at that time too.
Yeah, I can believe that. I wasn't there, but
Mhm.
Gilly was managing the situation at the time, so that was what Gilly was there to do. And if he said that's what happened, that's what happened. He's a stand-up dude in my mind. You know what I'm saying? I've always seen him as that, and yeah, I can see that. I don't see why not. Like I said, he was running around saying he was the Black Fat Joe of the game.
But did you witness anything like personally with your own eyes, or it was just being told to you that like, hey, Slay ain't fucking with us?
Oh yeah, no, that was a common. That was something that was spoken upon everybody.
Got
You
you.
know, yeah,
Okay.
it wasn't something that I witnessed, but it was something that was definitely spoken about all the time. You know, like yo, this dude, man, that's crazy. And you know, that's the industry, man. Like if people would put their pride to the side when they heard good music, it'd be a totally different world of music. But it's who you know, it's politics. You know how that go. Political way of doing it is how it's always been. And if they say, yo, don't, but you know, that karma comes with that too, though. You shutting somebody off, something gonna happen to you to shut you off because that's not, I'm a strong believer in karma. You got to give love to receive love. You're gonna go out there and try to be negative, some negative gonna come in your life at some point. That's just the way the world works.
Did you ever feel like scared that like your career could be impacted by the blackballing because you were affiliated with Cuban?
Nah, honestly, I was so ride or die with it, I didn't even think about that. Like, I had nothing to lose because I was on the come up in my mind anyway. Like I'm building to get somewhere with multiple people, but he was my main like situation. Like he was who I was working with more than anybody else. And at the same time, the word was probably more on safety purposes, like, yo, and it could go down at any time. Like, we out at this venue or that venue, we could run into these cats and it could be something. So we was always prepared for that. You know what I mean? So we was running around a little crazy for a while because we was always worried about, yo, we gotta be ready if something go down. You know what I mean? And it was word here and there, like we would do an event or a venue, and it'd be word on the street like, oh, these dudes might pop up. Or word, all right, we're gonna be ready for that. So we ran like we was ready for that. We was deep, and we was all running, heavily strapped, man. That's just how I got to a situation at one point with him when we was out somewhere that I was like, this is the second or third time I almost got jammed up. Not by dudes in the street, but by the boys, because we out here, we riding dirty. I
Right.
had to watch like how I rode. I was like, oh, all right, you got to fall back a little bit. Stop being a soldier, go back to being an engineer, you know? But when you out in the streets with them, you got to soldier up because you don't know what's going to happen. That's how that was, that tension at that time.
Okay, let's talk about Dren Starr. You spoke earlier about some of the early beginnings you guys had together, but who is Dren for people that may not know him? Like, what has he done in the industry?
So, we came up together as DJs, you know, met him when I was like 14 in junior high school. We were supposed to battle. We ended up making a mixtape out of the battle, yada, yada. Moving forward, we kept that moving. Then when we started the studio after all of the radio and DJing, he started to become a manager. So he started managing Cuban. So that was his first like big managing, situation. And then from there, he just started like moving
Wait, what
on
was
that.
this before Gilly became manager or?
Yeah. So this was after 24 Karat, when he was like basically performing for those years. After that, all the songs that he had, he would go and do shows all over the country. And Dren would be his manager, making sure that they got the airfare, the hotel, whatever situation situated, and that he collected the money at the end of the night or before the venue. And that's what he did. They were doing, multiple shows throughout the week. So he would get sometimes 3 or 4 shows every week. And they, he was charged or whatever. He's getting his 10%. So people started seeing that and was like, oh, he's managing him. You can manage me. So he started managing whoever needed it at the time. He started managing like one of the Killer Army artists, Beretta 9. He go by Kinetic 9 now. But he started managing him. And then, that's basically like the start of him being, because he always was a smart dude. He always knew how to manipulate situations to figure out how we could kind of like conquer this and conquer that. You know what I'm saying? So that's why we worked it on some like good levels together, because we complemented each other in a lot of ways. Like, the yin and the yang type of shit. So he became who he became just from spawning off from these situations that we built from a young age. And then, he took it to another level with just being like, a manager for these different artists.
And what was your guys' like relationship at that time? Because you were like his right hand man, pretty much,
Right
right?
hand. Yeah, yo, listen, the sentence didn't start or end without both of our names being in it when you spoke to me. So it's like, yo, I'm talking to you about music or business. I'm bringing up both of us. Like, yo, this is Dren Starr and Smooth B. This is Smooth B and Dren Starr. This is Smooth da-da-da and Dren. So everything was family. That was like my brother, like on some other level. Like, I don't even think Blood Brothers was doing the shit we was doing together. Like, and that's how I held him. I held him at that level in my mind at all times, and there was some bumpy road moments where I felt like, yo, I don't know if I could keep doing this. You know what I'm saying? Because being, like you said, like I'm saying brothers, sometimes, you get into little tiffs about this and that, and you have different ways of looking at things. You got to kind of meet on a common ground. I'm a very like humble person when it comes to working with my people. I always try to make sure everybody's happy. And when I feel like I'm a Taurus too, like, you know what I'm saying? If I feel like I'm getting jaded or I'm gonna come at you with them horns out, So, we had a good run, man. But yeah, I put him as a brotherly level in my mind at all times. It was almost like a fucking business marriage, like, you know what I'm saying? Because we had so much tied into each other that I felt like it was not, and even the industry seen it like that. It was people that would come up to us and be like, on something like, yo, y'all like a dynamic duo, you know what I mean? And then, as things went on, kind of started dwindling a little bit over the years. Took a long time for it to happen, but it happened. And, we kind of like went our separate ways, but that was
So
because of, yeah,
did you? When did you guys shut down the studio?
2004.
Oh, so
2004.
after Uncle B passed away.
After he passed away, we was trying to hold it together like with each other. That's probably the biggest problem. We just started falling in different ways of life with each other. And it got to a point where I was getting like, I just needed to move on. So I kind of like just moved on. Like I left everything. Like I didn't even look at the equipment and nothing. Like I just left, man. You know, that's when I moved to the Bronx and I just started a whole new life. You know what I mean?
Did you
And
guys have a conversation before you did that?
nah, that's the crazy shit. It was just like it was kind of falling apart so much between us that it was almost like it was already written on the wall. Like, you know what I mean? And with that being said, I was just like, yo, you know what? I could do this freelance and do my own thing and build my own fortress and be what I need to be for who I always wanted this shit to be with us. It was that for a long time, but it just got to a point where, you know, we just started seeing life in different ways. You know what I mean? Started seeing life in different, we wasn't the team that we was when we came into it. It was kind of like everybody was doing their own thing.
You
And
guys went through so many different phases because you guys met each other like what, 14?
yeah.
So
So
like you went through so many different phases. Okay, we got the radio thing. Now we doing the studio thing. And it's just like, sometimes in the beginning when you're young, you have a similar interest that unites you, but as you age and you grow, you become different people. Do you feel like that's exactly what happened?
um yeah, and I think some of it had to do with like the whole industry and like you see some people see it like they could do more without you. Or they could go farther without you. Or I got this connection now, I forged this relationship now. I don't really need you. And it's like, yeah, all right, that's cool. But yeah, we actually need each other. Like that's how this shit works. That's how it's been working. So I think that's what it was too. The evolution of relationships too. Kind of like you get pulled over here with this person and pulled over to that person. You feel like, oh, I'm good. I got this situation going on now. I ain't got to worry about that one anymore. So I think that kind of happened too with a lot of it. Like,
So he was more willing to do the industry games and you were not.
oh yeah, for sure. Like, I was just about making this money and working hard at doing it and loving the music that I was making along the way and forging these beautiful relationships with all the people that I got to work with. Like, I wasn't about stepping on nobody to get over to the next level. I like, yo, I want to hold your hand and take you with me and you take me with you type of situation. Like, so it's different when you become an industry cat, then you see the world a little bit differently. And I think that's what happened too. Like became like a little bit more industry and I was still on my grassroots to just build and destroy, build and destroy. No, I'm not destroying. I'm just building, building, building. And I didn't want that destruction around me anymore. I didn't like the negative energy too that I started feeling like I was getting second guess because I wasn't moving the way you move it. So, all right, I'm going to stay on my path. You go ahead and move on your path and we'll figure it out. That's kind of what happened.
Is there anything that stands out in your mind that you can share that was a huge source of your guys' disagreement? Like maybe just a type of business way that he wanted to move and you didn't want to move that way or anything?
Oh, man, I don't know, man. There was a lot of little things. It wasn't like nothing really big. It was just a lot of little things.
So a
And,
culmination of things.
yeah. I mean, it got to a point like maybe 3 years in where I was like, yo, I'm ready to go my own way, but I'm the type I'm like, yo, I gotta ride this wave until the wheels fall off. Like I gotta see where this could go. I can't give up and let it go and then have any regrets. So I'm gonna just keep dealing with whatever bullshit is coming around me to get to where I know it's either over or we getting to where we gotta be. And it just got to a point where it was like, yeah, this is over. I
So
can't move like
you started already seeing the bullshit early on then into
that. Yeah.
the
It
business.
was a lot of like animosity and little like shots thrown here and there,
So was
things
it
that was
like
said.
passive aggressive stuff? Like he was like
Yeah,
talking to you any kind of way? It was
yeah,
disrespect?
yeah, that was happening. It wasn't nothing in my face like, yo, you a motherfucking asshole, nothing like that. But it was just like, yo, bro, like, yo, I don't think you can accomplish this. Or yo, I don't think you got it in you to do this. And I'm like, then at one point, I remember Cuban that did this song with Swizz Beats. Swizz had produced it. It was Shakedown. And when he did Shakedown,
This is a shakedown.
I wanna yes. So I wanted to mix the track. I wanted to be the mixing engineer on that. Because they recorded it, whatever with me, boom, 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 whatever. He did whatever with Swizz, Then he wanted to throw that album to my man Dan the Man. My man Dan the Man is the man. I get it. Yo, he's dude. But how did he become the man? By people giving him opportunities to become the man. So it's like, yo, how you taking that opportunity away from me? Like, yo, here I am. I'm grinding hard for the company. We already 5 years in, and you
But
want
not
to
just
throw
that,
that
but
over there?
you family at this
So
point. I mean,
that right there, that was really like the nail in the coffin for me, where I was like, nah, I can't really move like with somebody that's gonna do that to me. Like, I ain't even care about the money. You know what I'm saying? He got paid for the track to mix it. I didn't really care about the money. I just wanted my name to be on that, And and that happened to me a couple times with a couple people in the industry. So that wasn't the first time, but to have it happen at home with family, I felt like, wow. I understood why the other dudes did it because they not family. They doing it just because they want to get over and get to where they gotta go. But you family and you doing me dirty like that, So
do you think that that's a problem then? Because like when you do business and personal gets mixed into it, you know what I'm saying? That's why they say don't do business with family or like people that you really know and you're good with because those emotions get into it.
I feel like that if you feel like the person is not up to that level. But if I'm already showing and proving I'm up to that level, and you family, you taking away, then it ain't about us being family. It's that you actually seeing the business in a different way that you shouldn't see it in. You seeing the
Got you.
business in a way that like, yo, I just want to do it this way because I feel like it's going to sound better. I mean, like not sound better engineering wise, but it's going to sound better when people see that person's name attached to that.
Oh, got you. Okay, so it's the bigger name, the hype of that, right? Basically, okay, I got you. Yeah.
And that's like I said, that's not the first time that happened to me. I did a track with somebody that they put somebody else's name on it and they ain't touched them. They ain't touch it. They ain't touched the record at all. The record came out, they went gold. My name ain't on it. But I know I did it. Everybody that was around know I did it. And the artist that I did it for knows I did it. But hey, that's how it goes. So I said, all right, I let that one pass. But then when this one happened, I was like, nah, man, like that's not righteous, bro.
Wait,
That's
so
not
the
right.
one with you said that the record came out and your name wasn't on it. Dren did that to
Nah,
you though? He took.
that was somebody else. Like I said, I gave that a
Oh, got
pass
you.
because that's not family. That was somebody I looked at as like, yo, they family. But in all honesty, they were just an artist that I was working with that he had power and he uses power to put the record on the album and then put somebody else's name on it. That's
Got you.
because like I don't want to. I mean, to be frank with you, it was a Wu-Tang Killer Army situation.
Hmm.
Now I don't know. At the time, I thought maybe RZA had made that call, but it wasn't RZA. It was his brother. His brother made that call to let somebody else's name go on that, and that's how that went down. And that other members showed me mad love because of that, because they knew like, yo, that was all you. I wouldn't have did that. I got you though. I'm gonna look out for you from here on because that was foul. I didn't. So I learned from that one. But then when this one happened, I'm like, nah, bro. Like, wow. That wasn't
Right.
supposed to go down like that. You're supposed to hold me down. I hold you down. Like, but whatever. I got you. We ride or die with this. And I ain't see that reciprocated. So, like I
How,
said,
how
that's when
many
the nail.
years would you say that you guys have known each other at this time of that incident happening?
Bro, we talking over 10, going on 15, maybe at least 10 to 15, you know?
So your perspective is like if you're willing to do that to me after everything that we've been through, then it's kind of like, Lord knows what you're going to be willing to do in the future then.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And then, like I said, other things was happening with money and other things like that. That was in that situation that I'm like, yeah, you already showed me that this is what you're going to continue to do. So now I can't continue to let that happen to me. So I got to make my move. And that's what I did, you know.
So what happened when Dren ended up catching that charge for that pistol? He ended up doing 5.5 years, right?
So at this time, he had already, like, I still was trying to be a brother. That's the funny thing. Like, all right, I'm not working with you with music or nothing, but I'm like, yo, I moved, yo, I'm doing this house warming, you come through, whatever, you know, cold shouldered me, whatever. I'm like, all right, that's the writing on the wall
What
that I
year is
needed.
this?
That was 2004.
Oh,
Everything
okay.
happened
So
that
this
year,
is like
man.
fresh off the
Yeah,
breakup, pretty much.
yes. And then from that point, we didn't see each other. So that's the same year that he caught the first gun charge, I believe. It was either that year or the year after. So I'm hearing this from, you know, people in our circle. But again, I'm doing me, he's doing him. Then when he got knocked, you know, second time I heard word on the street, and I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Like I never seen that one coming like that. I didn't see that, like, because like I said, he was always a smart enough dude to know how to maneuver. And I
So
guess somebody
wait,
caught up to that.
for
I don't
people
know.
that don't know Dren like that, would you describe him as being a street dude like that? Like he's really about that?
Nah, nah, nah. That
So
was,
why was he making that decision to be rolling like that at that time, do you think?
I really can't speak for that man on that, but I can just say this. I feel like at certain points, he got so deep into like, you know, trying to be street that it became part of his bravado that he couldn't walk away from. And then,
Mm.
you know, you start carrying them things. It becomes a normal thing to you. It's kind of like, you know, kid in a
And in
candy
New York,
store.
they don't play either.
Nah. The gun charges here is no joke, man. It's a mandatory 7. You know what I'm saying? You get caught with that thing on you. So that's what happened. And during the course of that time, I had no real connection. I was just doing my thing. And you know, he was where he was at with that. We ain't bumping each other until like maybe a year or two after he came home.
Yeah, so Cuban has said that they were cool during the time that he was locked up. Cuban even sent some people to hold him down, right, while he was locked up. And then when he got
Yeah,
out,
he told me the same thing.
they hung out for a little bit, but then after that, Dren ghosted him. And next thing you know, he's in pictures with Joe. Did you ever have a conversation with him at that point? Man, roll the clip.
Didn't he host one of your mixtapes?
Of course, the main one, the broken chains.
Right,
He's
that's
the
right,
one who
that's
asked
right.
me to do that shit. So we did it in private recording. He comes from a bloodline where I respect Uncle Pete. He comes from that side. So that nigga was there from the beginning. He knows the truth about everything. So for him to do the 7 years in jail, he got caught up with some guns or whatever, and come out, and I talked to him, and everything's good.
Oh, so he was around during the full eclipse days.
Hell yeah, that nigga was around.
Wow. So then he ends up joining.
Him and Smooth is his partner at the time. And, he even did fucking Smooth. He started changing, man. He came out of jail and he was cool with me. He looked a little funny, but I didn't take nothing of it. Then, I guess he was ready to make peace with these niggas. Whatever. I don't mind you making peace, but give me a little fucking call. Tell me. Don't let me get caught by surprise, because that means you was a snake nigga when you was around me. You know what I'm saying? I would have said, hey, you want to make peace with him? Yeah, my nigga, it's cool. So it's a tough pill to swallow after all the shit you talked about the nigga. Because it wasn't like Dren was a nigga that just was there caught up in a ratchet. No, he was talking shit about Joe. He knew shit about Joe. He was an influencer with that. So for him to do that, it's like, damn, look at this nigga. They made that nigga turn, oh my God. So that's really more disappointing to himself for who he is. Whether, you know what I'm saying, he has a conscience or not, he knows what he did.
Nah, I'm watching that shit. I'm watching that shit from behind the scenes. Like, wow, unbelievable. But at the same time, it's believable because
So it wasn't a surprise to you, but it was just like, wow,
nah,
like.
because when you jump ship and you just continuously jumping ship, just to get on any bandwagon that's running. I mean, I can see that happening like with no problem. I can see him doing that. Like that's going to get him to another level. That picture or whatever, you know, you defy the loyalty that you got with your people for a moment. That's crazy. I don't do that. I don't move like that. Like never have, never will. But that was something I just spoke to Cuba about. Like he was just putting me on like how he felt about it, and I understand. Like I get it. Like because even him, he's an understanding type of person. He was just like, yo, if I would have just got an answer that made sense, then I would have just looked past it. But I never got that. I actually got disrespected, and that's something for them to speak about.
Right. Because, I mean, during the whole time that he's beefing with Joe, Dren is around. So obviously he's probably feeling the same way as Q in a lot of ways,
Not
right?
even around. Listen, if you listen to that Broken Chains, he's the host. He's the Howard Cosell of the whole mixtape. He's the fuck that fat bastard. Like you wouldn't have known I was involved because I just mixed it and recorded it. But he's
Right.
on his shit,
But he's
talking his shit.
frontlining.
He's frontlining, talking his shit, holding it, the torch up like on some Cuba. I got you. Fuck this nigga. And then here we go. So that's kind of like
That's wild.
I don't even know if Joe even knew who he was taking that picture with, man, to be honest with you. That could have been one of those.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
So then you run into him like a year or two after he's out. What happens?
So, I'm working. I'm at my JO. I'm outside, though. And then he pulled up on me because he know where I'm at. And he just started kicking it with me about, a little small talk. What he was like, what was I doing, what he was doing. Maybe we should, hit up a bar and hang out or whatever. Little 10-minute conversation. We exchanged numbers, and then from there,
so you're receptive. You're receptive at the time.
Yeah. Because I ain't got no connection at this time, so it's nothing really for me to be worried about getting tainted or hurt. Like I'm doing me, you doing you. You was my brother. I'm still a man. You a man. I'm here. Like, what's up? How you doing? You good? Your family good? Because this family was like my family. Everybody good? You good? All right, that's cool. Good to hear. I'm sorry to hear you went through that. I'm here though. But I got my family. I got what I got going on, so I'm not even looking at that like it's something I need to be worried about. It's just it's a relationship that dwindled over time, but we still here. So that was that. I just kept it like that. I'm cordial. Happy birthday. How are you? That's about it. I ain't got no. I don't got no bad blood, man. I know who people are for me, and I just keep it moving with the people I need to keep it moving with.
So you guys ever go hang out after that, or like you ever build together after that?
Nah. I mean, I'll be honest. That's because of me and who I am. I'm a Taurus, man. I'm a little stubborn, man. Like, say the least. Like, if I get turned the wrong way, I'm done. That's it. That's in any relationship. I move on. I don't look back. I move forward. I keep moving that way.
So why invest any effort at that time then to even say like happy birthday or to like even like entertain it?
I guess I'm a reciprocator. You hit me up and you say happy birthday to me, I feel only obligated to give you at least that back when your time comes, So I share the flowers on that level, but again, I know what not to do and what not to get into. So I just stay away from all the other things. I guess that's just me being who I am when it comes to certain things. I'm like that, man. Like my lady might hate that shit in me because I'm like that, but that's who I am, man. Like, hey, you good? All right, I'm good. Not that and honestly, if you needed something and I had it to give, I give it. I give it because that's just who I am. I still feel like it shouldn't have went the way it went. It went that way. It wasn't because of me. So I'm still gonna be who I am. I'm gonna still be here. Like if you need something, I'm here for you. But I'm not gonna go out my way. You know what I'm saying?
So you kept it real surface level though, pretty much. It was
Yeah.
kind of like whatever, right?
Yeah.
So what was it like for you to see him elevating in his career? You know what I mean? Because then all of a sudden you see him with Rock Nation, do say, all this stuff like that.
That's dope. It's a dope move. I'm proud. I'm happy for him. Like he's doing, something that's keeping him motivated, keeping him focused on the bag and becoming or whoever he wanted to become, But the one thing I do have a problem with, and I can be frank with you, I've heard from some people and I've seen some interviews that I had to, like, yo, bro, that's not how that went. That's not the story. You weren't the owner of a studio by yourself. You were a co-owner with me. I was the head engineer and producer. I ran the ship. I taught everyone how to record. You can't teach somebody how to mix. That shit comes with your ear and your mind and your soul. That's just something you can't teach. So I don't like the narratives. Like when I hear sometimes like you the sole controller that did this and did that. Nah, we're not doing that. Anybody that was a part of Pirate or walked in that studio, they knew who I was and what I was about and my work ethic. And I just can't hear someone going out on a limb to make themselves this and make me that. That's not happening. I'm that dude. Always will be, always am. So that's the only problem I have with it. Like, tell the story, tell it correctly. There's some truths in there, so sometimes that's how people do it too. They throw the truths in there and then they embellish, and then you believe everything because it's a little bit of the truths in there. I didn't like that. I
So
don't like that.
you have you heard him speak about you in an interview?
Yeah,
Or he
yeah.
just like completely leaves you out?
Nah, he speaks about it. Like he'll talk about how we met. He'll talk about like the DJ side of it. But then everything else is kind of like it was just him,
He did on his own.
Yeah, yeah. Nah, that ain't
And you have a problem with that because it's like rewriting history. Like you didn't realize, you're not presenting it that I was a part of your story and made it possible for you to get to where you are, to get to that next level.
Exactly. That's exactly it. Like, don't forget where you came from and who was there every day. Blood, sweat, and tears. Like, I sacrificed a lot as well just to make sure everybody was good. And it's a lot more to that. Like, I was making sure not only that we were good moving up, but the money that was coming in, you was using it to do whatever you needed to do when you needed to do it. I'm over here doing what I got to do to work a 9 to 5 to keep my pockets paid and to keep that money in the business. So it's just a lot, man. Like, I'm like, yo, show and pay homage when it needs to be done. Give me my flowers now. Don't talk like it was just you, bro. It wasn't. It wasn't. And the world that knew us knows that. It's just the people that are the new people now that, you get in the front of, you talking on camera to, that they don't know. They only know what you're telling them. That they're not really looking at it because they only know that you saying that you was the owner and you did this. But yeah, all right. How you got to that level if you're not an engineer? You're not a producer. You solicited somebody to do that? Nah, that was me, bro.
What do you want to end up happening with Dren? Like, how do you want to resolve things? Do you want him to see this interview and like hit you up and be like, you know what, you're right, bro. Like I was wrong for that. That I should have given you more credit.
I mean, that would be a nice gesture. That would be a nice gesture, But I think we passed that point now. I think what's done is done. But yeah, that would be cool. That would be a little closure for the damage that's been done. Because yeah, it's damage when you telling a different narrative than what it really is. And again, that's back to the politics. That's how you get yourself to here. I guess in certain people's mind, that's how they get there. I don't feel like that's the way to do it, but that's the only way I can justify it. That's a way to pump yourself up to make yourself seem like you that guy and you ain't need nobody. You was self-made. All right.
Do you think that he feels a certain amount of pressure to do that because of the circles that he's running in with Rock Nation? Like, he's surrounded people like Joe and Jay and,
Nah, I mean, I can't say, but I can tell you from my perspective, I wouldn't move like that. I don't think that that's the way that I want people to remember me or know me as. I want the truth is the truth. And when you start throwing in all these little lies, if that ever gets, exposed, then your credibility is diminished. And credibility is everything. A man is, his integrity should be everything that he stands on. That's what I live by. So I don't have anything for you to come back and be like, nah, he lied about that or he fabricated that, because I stand on my integrity. So I would assume that if I was in those positions, I would still stand on my integrity. I want people to respect me for who I am, not for what I want them to think I am. You know what I'm saying?
Do you think that it's like kind of when you start to reach these new heights that you could lose yourself in the process, like just kind of like start feeling yourself too much?
I see that with, I guess, certain people that I've watched in the game, and some people are successful with that. It actually works for them. And then some people, it only lasts for a certain amount of time, very short period of time, and then boom, again, karma comes back and hits you with reality that, yo, because you're not really that person. You don't really have that drive to be who you said you were. Some people, they use whatever they got to use to get to wherever they got to get, and they keep doing it until they get to where they want to be. So hey, to each his own. Whatever works for you, man. But that's just not how I move, and I don't like that. I don't like that kind of movements by people. Like, because again, so at some point somebody's gonna check you,
Right.
and when they do, then it's on you to figure out how you gonna fix that.
So you're familiar with the videotape of Cuban getting punched by the bar, falling down, getting back up, ordering a drink, right?
Yeah, yeah,
The guy that punched him, BX Hova, and
yeah,
Cuban have a long history. You were present for one of the incidents where you guys were in the club, I think Sue's Rendezvous, and Hova punched Dren in the face and allegedly knocked him out.
yeah. I was there. I was there for all of that. Yeah. Um. So after the punch, they had pushed me and my man out the club. They pushed me out the exit. So I'm fighting to get back in because I know, shit is going down. So as that's happening, Cuban comes out the entrance and he starts flipping on me. Yo, how you left me in there? This is that's how I have. I'm like, yo, bro, I'm in here right now arguing with this dude trying to get back in. As that happens, he comes out the door, Dren, out the exit door, stumbling a little bit. And one of them crack him over the head with a Heineken bottle. He fell out cold. So now
So he
he's
got
out
knocked out
cold.
again.
So he's knocked out on the sidewalk. So now me and Cube is squaring up with the two dudes that came out. So we hustling, tussling, doing whatever with these two dudes, but at the same time trying to secure him because I don't want nobody stomping on him. He's unconscious. So I'm trying to keep him at bay while we doing what we do. And then PD Crack, he was with us with his brother. He came out and, he started doing his thing. He had that thing on him and boom, they just started chasing him. At this point, as soon as they started chasing him, the cops pull up. They pulled up. It was like a Tuesday night too, so they were bugging like, "Yo, this is happening on a Tuesday. What the fuck y'all guys doing?" And my man, nonstop, he starts wilding on the cops, going crazy. Look at my man over here. Y'all ain't doing shit. So the cop started beating on him and locked him up. So now me being me, I'm like, all right, let me get out their face, get back on the sidewalk and get to this dude. At this point, he wakes up, but he's still like out of it. They get him in the ambulance, take him to the hospital, wrap him up and all that. We had to now go get Cuban and all them, round them up, and go to the hospital and get this dude to get back downtown. So, funny story about that, the dude I was squared up with, I end up meeting him like 2 years later. I moved to the Bronx. My man Opera Steve owns a club. He's like, yo, come to my club. I'm gonna pick you up. These dudes get into a scrap in the VIP and they get kicked out. One dude is left. The one dude is left, unbeknownst to me, was a dude I was fighting. He's at the bar and he's like, yo, I always wanted to work with Cuban Link, but I had a fight with him And I, that's never going to happen. And I'm like, wow, I'm just listening. I'm putting the pieces to the puzzle together. So then Steve tells me, yo, this dude is from your block. I got to drive him home because his peoples got kicked out and they left. So I'm going to take him home and I'm going to drop you off. So then we chop it up. We exchange numbers. Long story short, about a year later, maybe 6 months later, it's my birthday. So I'm like, yo, I'm having a party because he's a barber. He tells me, yo, I'm a barber. I can cut your hair. Here's my card. His name is Copy Cool. He happened to be a rapper too. So boom, he come to my crib and he starts talking about the story of Sue's Rendezvous. And I'm listening, I'm like, hold up. That was me on the other side of you. We in my kitchen talking. He goes crazy. Oh shit, get the fuck out of here. Takes me to the block to meet all these dudes that we had to beef with that night. So I live a block away from everybody. So I end up meeting everybody that we had that drama with and forging a relationship with him that to this day, that's my guy. You know what I'm saying? So small world situations happen, real recognize real. Here we are. But yeah, that shit happened the same way he said, bro.
So you ended up meeting BX Hova too?
Nah, so I ended up meeting all the people from Boynton. They all from Boynton Avenue in the Bronx.
Oh, got
I
you.
ended up
Okay.
meeting all these dudes that was actually with them that night. It was a whole group of them. It was like 10 or 15 of them that came in there that was on like inside fighting, outside fighting, getting chased and all that. I ended up meeting all of them.
Did you see in the club when Cuban punched Hova, or you were already pushed out at that time?
They already pushed me out. So when that happened and he punched him, one of the dudes hit him in the back. He still got the scar cube on the left side of the back, on the right side of the back of his head from the ring hitting him. They hit him on the backside with a ring on his finger.
Man.
Cut his shit open right here. So when he came out the entrance, he like, yo, you see what the fuck you did? And you licked me in. I'm like, yo, bro. And then that's when, boom, everything happened. So
you cool with Nonstop too?
Yeah. I haven't seen him in a while, but yeah, Nonstop is my man.
Wow. Small world, man. So,
yeah.
All right. So you got the relationship with Nonstop, but you was cool with Tony Sunshine too.
All right. So all of that wasn't a situation back then. Everybody was cool, you know what I'm saying? And me and Tony.
Wait, you know where I'm going with it?
I know where you're going with it, yeah. So none of that was a situation. Like I met Nonstop through Cuban. You know what I'm saying? He was hanging out all the time. But
you met them later on in life when they were older. The situation happened, earlier in the timeline, basically.
Yes. So I knew Nonstop. I didn't even know about that. You know what I'm saying? and I found that out later, and I was flabbergasted that even happened. I'm like, what? Wow, that's crazy.
Wait, how did you find out about it?
Cube exposing it, you know?
No, you saw an interview of him talking about it?
Yeah, and I'm like, oh,
see, because people try to give me credit, and I wasn't the first channel that he spoke about it on, okay? Like, he spoke about it on another channel first, and then I got to interview Nonstop, and Nonstop broke it all down, and...
Listen, I'm going to have to look at that one, because I don't even think I saw that one, Pen. I got to see that.
Oh, yeah. Nonstop wild for that. He crazy for that one, but... man.
Yeah.
Shout out to Nonstop, man.
Yeah, big up to my man Nonstop, man. He's a ride or die, man. I ain't gonna lie.
Word. Yeah. His nickname lives up to the hype. Nonstop.
For real. Like, listen, when he was going off on them cops, though, man, he was going off. Like they couldn't have any. They had no choice but to beat him up with the blackjack and put the cuffs on him because there was no stopping him. He wasn't going to stop. So, yeah, he lives up to that name, man.
So, you also were there in Puerto Rico when Cuban asked DJ Khaled to play the record, no?
Nah, I wasn't there. I told you, I didn't really travel with them like that. I did a lot of Miami trips with them. We had some good times doing that, but I didn't really travel with them like that. I was in the circle. I was there, that was, B was with them, my man Junito. There was a couple people that was out there with him, but I wasn't there for that. I think GQ might have even been there for that.
Oh, so you know GQ? Damn, you know everybody.
Yeah.
I got to interview GQ not too long ago. Man, I hope that brother's doing well. Where he is and everything. But he seems like a real solid brother, man. So shout out to him. But Cuban's memory is pretty good, but sometimes he gets it wrong because he said that you were there in Puerto Rico and you saw him, chasing DJ Khaled. You saw him. You saw Dre from Cool and Dre get lifted off the ground and everything.
Now I remember hearing about the story though when they came back. I remember that.
Okay.
I remember them talking about that shit. Like I can remember that like yesterday, but I wasn't there. I told Q we talked about that too. I'm like, nah, you got me mixed up a little bit. I wasn't there for that one. But yeah.
Oh
I
wait,
know.
wait. So then you guys recorded "You're Not Hood," right?
Yeah. So again, another flame in the fire was set and ignited, and now he's back on his bullshit or coming at these dudes. Because that's when he started making the songs where he was talking about Khaled. You know, kind of mentioned Cool and Dre here, but his focus more was on Khaled at that time with the way the shit everything went down.
Did you ever have conversations with Q about just stopping focusing on the beef stuff and focusing more on his career?
Not really, because honestly, we didn't always focus on the beef. The beef just happened to be like the underlining tone of everything. And then we would just constantly make music for the project to go somewhere. So we was
Right.
just recording and making a lot of music. And that's when, you know, again, everything we did got him the MOB. So it did work for what it was supposed to work for. It's just that, again, that shit was always there, like the beef. And I know a lot of people started looking at it like he should just stop, shut up, let it go. But you say that looking from the outside, looking in. But then when you on the inside and you that person dealing with that, it's hard to let that go, bro. Because everywhere you turn, this person is showing and proving to you that they here to get at you. So how you gonna let that go? You know, as much as you try to, they keep closing doors in front of your face. So when that MOB door got open, there was some people that just didn't care what was going on. They actually wanted to use that as a catalyst to get him into that next position. So it worked both ways. It worked fuel to the fire and it worked to get him in the game back again. So, you know, the beef wasn't always what everything was about, but it was always an underlining portion of what things were about.
What about now when you look at, you know, where his career has gone and all the interviews and everything that he's talking about Joe and stuff? Like, do you feel that he should let it go, or do you have understanding of why he hasn't been able to?
I understand it, because still to this day, Joe's still doing the same shit. He going on Drink Champs and they can't play this song and play that song because they got Cube in it. He's calling him a bum and this and that. And, you know, he goes on Flex talking about how he did this woman that and playing his narrative. He's still doing it. So I get it. It's a time and a place. But if this man is still living off of, you know, that anger as well, where do you stand with it? Yeah, you can let it go. But if you let it go, this shit is like part of him now, man. Like part of his persona now. Like I don't think anybody can look at my brother and not see, you know, what's he call him, the beluga. You know, they're gonna think about the beluga no matter what. It comes with the territory. So, you know.
But don't you think that, like, to a certain extent, the situation hurts him professionally as well, though?
Yeah, it does. It does. It does. But that's cute, man.
But because you were there, you understand how deep it really is, like those feelings.
Yeah. And I saw a lot of the blackballing and a lot of the stoppages. So I can understand why he could still have that. And I just know him. Cuba ain't gonna ever stop, man. He ain't gonna stop. Like,
Yo, he's a stubborn motherfucker, man.
yeah, he ain't gonna stop. It's like you asked me that question, like, what would I want to see for closure in that situation, right? What would he want to see for closure in that situation? I don't think there's anything possible. I really
Right.
don't. I really feel like at this point it is what it is. It's just the way the world is built for him. You know, you got to make the best out of it.
Yeah, man. I think that there's no way that situation ever gets mended, honestly, because it's like you're talking about that changed the entire course of his career. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't give that man those years back. Time is something you can never. It's the most expensive thing that we have, right?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
you can never repay it. And man, it changed everything for him. So it doesn't even matter if like Joe came to him and apologized now or something like that, or admitted that he was wrong, or even tried to give him some money. It wouldn't be enough.
And Cube knows that's never going to happen, so that's why he's never going to stop.
Right.
Yeah, so, you know. And then you got to think about this too, the extension of his family, like Pun being his brother, Liza being his sister, and, you know, Chris and the girl, you know, being his niece and nephew. Like, he can never look
Yeah,
past
because when
that.
you start to factor those things in, and then like the whole court case and the royalties and all that stuff like that, it's like it's one thing that you did me wrong, but you did my dead brother wrong. Then it's like it's even worse. That's probably hurts even more, or like makes him even more angry.
Exactly, man. I remember when Liza was in the shelter. I ain't look too far. I would see her every once in a while up in Westchester and all that, and it's like that shit hurts, man. You know, this man, all he had, all he was, and the legacy that he was supposed to leave behind, and his kids is in that situation. That's crazy. So, yeah, I can't see him ever looking back and saying himself he's gonna let that go.
Right. What about for the people that say, Q, you had all these years to really do something to Joe if you wanted to, and you didn't?
What is he gonna do? I mean, he's still doing it, to be honest. Like, if they mean like coming at him on a violent level, that's never going to be productive. But he's going to attack his character every chance he gets, and he's still doing that to this day. I mean, shit.
But that's what they want, though. That's what like they're like, oh, if you really about it and everything, like, why don't you do something to Joe? Like, you know where the shoe stores is at and everything. Like, why won't you do something to him? And I feel like it's so much easier for you to say that because you on the outside watching, you know, but you're asking the man to throw away his life, right? Like to
exactly. And he's surrounded by a whole bunch of goons. So you really think he's gonna let him get a fair one? And his goons ain't gonna let that happen either. So in the real world, that's not
why
gonna
do you
work.
think that? Yeah, why do you think that Joe gave Sunkiss a fair one? Because remember, they went to the park and they fought after, right?
Well,
that one time after the whole Jimmy's incident.
Cuban and Sunkiss.
No. Joe and Sunkiss went. They fought at the park and then squashed it.
I don't really know. I really don't know. I know Sunkiss is a real nigga too, though. You know,
right?
So he might have had no other choice. I don't really know though. But shout out to Sunkiss.
Because because a lot of people wonder, like, why didn't you give Cuban that same opportunity to shoot a fair one and for you guys to squash it before it blew up to what it is now? You know what I mean? Like back then, like you could have really resolved things.
He might have been scared of that anger, man. Who knows? I don't know. I can't speak for that man, but I know that at some point he knows who Cuban really is. You know, he knows the type of person he is. So, you know, I don't know. I mean, you know, Joe talks about a lot of tough shit. I don't know if he's about that or not. I know Q. I know he's a stand-up guy. When it comes to his feelings, he's gonna give it to you. And you know, he might hug you after, but he's gonna give you the business. So
because you've seen him in personal situations, so is it like humorous to you when like you see comments and people say like, "Oh, Cuban is pussy. He's not really about that life" and stuff like that? Because you've witnessed it.
Oh yeah, they don't know who they talking about. Nah. Cuban is not the type of guy, man, to do no sucker shit. Like, you know what I mean? I've always known him to be, like I said, even if you his man, he gonna tell you how he feels, whether you like it or not. And if you gotta take a smack to the face because that's where we going with it, then that's what's gonna happen. You know? He's a real dude, man. I love that brother, man.
So you also worked with Don Pacino, right?
Yeah, it's my man.
What was it on a record or an entire project?
I engineered a whole album of Rice and Beans. So Rice and Beans, I mixed and mastered the whole thing with him. And that was because of what happened with me on that Originators track. Like, we had already built a relationship. We was hanging out all the time. And then when that Originators track happened where they did me dirty, he was like, nah, I got you. my next project, I want you to run with me. That's what I did. But he was already taking me to studios with him prior to that, like having me engineer for him at different places. So we already had a great relationship. But that's when Rice and Beans came out, I did the whole project with him, and he gave me the proper credit, made sure he took care of me, and he's a stand up dude, man. It's my guy to this day. Like he's another one that he don't let the industry and the politics fuck with his way of moving. He moves the way he wants to move. And he makes sure he takes care of his people. I always respected and loved him for that.
So you guys are still tight to this day.
Yeah, that's my man. Yeah, and he's doing what he's doing. I'm doing what I'm doing. But we always chop it up about the kids, whatever, whatever. He hit me up on the gram and this and that. But like I used to go to his crib and record. So I would go out Staten, make it happen. I was traveling for him, like whatever he needed. So that's my man.
Who else in Wu-Tang did you work with?
So I knew Killer Sin from personal things, from living on Governor's Island and all that, and everybody from there, I had to go to school out in Staten Island and Curtis. So I knew him before the music. So then when I met the other brothers, he was like kind of like the glue to the puzzle for me. So I forged a relationship with Beretta 9. It was to a point where Beretta 9 was kind of like staying at the studio, like he was just living there. And, he became family. And then that's how I got down with Ninth Prince, RZA's brother. And then Don P started coming around on his own. He would just come and hang out and make music with me. So I got to know all of them after their first album. And then when the second album dropped, they was actually hanging out with us. And that was 9/11. It was supposed to drop on the day the towers dropped. And that was a big, loss for them because they couldn't drop the album to release the way it was supposed to because 9/11 happened and it overshadowed everything. So from there, we just started making music. And then when the third album came out, like I said, I already did so many tracks with them and built so many relationships with people they were surrounded with. They ended up using one of the songs on the album that I did in Pirate with Falling Down and Night Prince. And from there, we was just running, man. So my affiliation with them was just basically with Killer Army, you know. But then I started spinning off from them with Papa Wu. So I would go fuck with Papa Wu at United Kingdom in Bed-Stuy. And then I met, his nephew, Sugar Bang Bang. And Sugar Bang Bang ended up being signed to Wu and doing the Ghost Dog soundtrack. So from there, then me and Bang Bang just became brothers, and we was just working together. I was like his engineer and producer for a few years. So I just started building relationships with whoever, whoever I had the time and energy, and they had the time and energy for me. And that's how that went. I mean, it was at a point where Papa Wu was talking about making me the I think it was the 10th chamber. Because he was like, yo, your sound is different. I like you. So that was a big deal for me, getting in with, because I always looked up to those brothers. They was always like somebody that I always aspired to work with. So it was almost like it was meant to be. And I was really happy at that time period to be able to work with them.
Did you ever get to meet like Method Man or any of the other members?
Yeah. So, Old Dirty, which I love. I love his heart and soul. Method Man. I was supposed to work with Ray because I had somebody that I was working with, but that never happened. That would have been really some fly shit right there. But I met Inspector Deck.
Jizza?
Me and Jizza never really I never met Jizza. I met RZA on a few occasions. Tried to poly and holler at him. Capadonna, my man was really cool with Kappa, my man Shicey, so he brought Kappa to me, and Kappa just started kicking some real knowledge to me, like some real life shit that still to this day stuck with me. So, big shout out to Kappa for that. And, I was around those people here and there, because of the Army, because of other affiliates I knew from Staten Island. Then I met other people that was down with the Wu, like Leatherface and just a couple other dudes, King Just, so on and so forth. But again, I was moving like the wind, bro. So I was all over the place trying to just make it work. So I didn't really stay in one place too long. But I did have some nice bonds with a couple of them dudes.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the nuts and potatoes of that. These niggas, they was already stars. You know what I
Right,
mean? So
right.
they was all over the place.
So you also worked with Tragedy, right? Tragedy Gaddafi from Queensbridge?
Yeah, so I worked with Trash through the Cuban situation,
Mm-hmm.
and then I ended up having a chance to, Trash's energy is crazy. So I remember him being in the booth and like me just going crazy while he's in there, like, and then his energy will go up another level because of my craziness of just listening to him. And then, we do like 3 or 4 takes. He's like, damn, where that energy went? Like, because that's just the way it goes. Like, yo, you hear this shit for the first time, it's like the illest shit ever. And Trash is just one of those dudes that he's all over the place. But I had a short period of time to work with him. And I wish I had more time to work with him because come on, that's Intelligent Hoodlum slash 252, Tragedy Gaddafi, very inspirational dude, man. And his aura is always like that's something that I think I got from him. My aura's good. He used to always say that my aura's good. I live by that shit too. Like, gotta have your aura in check, man. Make sure you giving superior to whoever you're surrounded by. That shit comes back. So yeah, if you get to work with him or talk with him, yeah, link me up, man.
I was supposed to do an interview with him, but I gotta get up with him to see if he's still if it's still gonna happen or what. But shout out to Tragedy, man.
Yeah, I always love him and Imam Thug too, man. Like that dude was something else. Tragedy put a lot of people on that had some ill styles, man. So he's just a forefather of a lot of people's style. People forget about that, CNN and just a lot of things that he did that
He's
changed the
been in the
culture.
game for a long time, man.
Long time, bro.
Yeah, and I don't feel like he get the credit he deserves.
Like he's been in the game for I feel like 40 years. Like, yo, he's been doing this
He's
forever.
still doing it. Still
Yeah.
doing it, You got any untold pun or Cuban stories?
Wow, Untold. I got a lot of stories I would like not to tell, There's like those intimate moments that you just want to keep between your brothers. But like I said, that pun situation with the interview, he said a lot of things that was kind of under the radar that I looked at him in a different light, like, yo, this guy is really about that life. Now, I remember Pun was damn, he was kind of like a real street nigga that was a rapper. So if anybody ever did anything to cross him, I don't know if you remember, he had that big chain with the tombstone that was like, it was humongous. It was like a brick.
Terror Squad one, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that was a weapon, bro. That wasn't just a fucking chain and a piece, man. That was a weapon, bro. He wrapped that shit around his hand, and if he had to do what he had to do, which he was the one that wanted to do what he had to do. It wasn't like he did it and everybody knew what time it was. I mean, that's all I want to say about that. I don't want to say too much because he was a crazy dude, but he was the Punisher, man. He was the Punisher. Like that shit, he was literally the Punisher.
Right.
And if anybody crossed, and you know what's crazy? They had their own lingo, and that the lingo, like they had their own way of speaking. That you could be standing right next to them and have no idea what they're talking about, but they talking about you, and they're saying things in code. And that was
Right.
something that Pun and all them came up with that was dope as shit that I ever seen.
TS language.
Oh yeah, yeah. The lingo was crazy. I remember some of the words, but like a tipo no lingua and bite. It was just a lot of different things. And be like, what? This guy said. He's a Noli. Get him out of here. Get that Noli out of here. You don't know what he's talking about, but I know what he's talking about. They know what he's talking about. So yeah, I mean that was some dope shit with punning them too, like the lingo. And a lot of people didn't know that they had their own language.
What about Cuban?
Oh man, shit. Again, I think about things that I don't
He
even
going
want to.
through the
Yeah.
Rolodex right now. He's like, what can I say that I won't get in trouble for?
You just read my mind, bro. Exactly, man. Oh man. Yeah. Oh, damn. Because I don't wanna damage any relationships that I got with other fellas either though. But Cube and Tony got a lot of they got a lot of history. And Cube treated him like a little brother sometimes and gave him that lashing and thrashing. And Tone confided in me a couple times that he didn't want to come around because he was worried. You know, he was worried about how Cuban was going to react if he popped his head in. So that's what I mean about Cuban being a stand up guy about his business. Like you could be his brother, he could take a knife for you, but we got to give you that lashing and thrashing. You gonna get it. That's as much as I want to say about that, to say the least. So
what
mhm.
what year did you stop rocking with Cuban? Like as far as like coming around like that?
With the music and all, it's probably like around that 2005 time period, right around where everything really took its toll around that time, 2004, 2005, and you know,
So
like
you
we
weren't
had
around for Bang Bang Boogie and all that
nah,
stuff.
but it's crazy. I lived in that hood when that happened. I was in Soundview when all that
Mm.
was going down, so I ended up meeting up with Gilly and PO, and he introduced me to PO, which was like the leader of the group at the time. God rest his soul, he passed away. But I wasn't a part of none of that. I was just watching that from, outside the window looking in like, ooh, okay. I
So
ain't
none
think
of
I
the
said,
326 and everything that he when he was rocking with Kano and everybody.
nah, I was already on a whole nother page of just engineering all over the city at that point. I was freelancing. I was everywhere.
Got you.
Yeah.
So now, are you still doing that? Are you still doing the engineering, or have you left like the industry completely?
Yeah, I've been out the game now for about 6 years. I kind of took a hiatus at one point because I just felt like I was giving more than what I was getting back from it. And then I just started thinking about like chasing that bag. And I was just like, yo, you know what? I'm not getting the bag doing this the way I want to. I could do other things. So, I mean, I miss it though. I miss making the music more than anything. And I miss engineering and recording and mixing it and producing. But I lost a close friend of mine that was my artist, Flow Harder to God, Sin City. And when that happened, it kind of like changed my whole lane, like, you know what I mean? Because he was the glue to the puzzle for me to keep me motivated and keep me going with the music. Because he was my artist, like he was that dude since we were doing Pirate. You know what I mean? And we stuck it together for like 20 years, almost 20 years, about 17, 18 years before he passed, just making music. So after that happened, I was just like, nah, you know what? Let me just take a chill. And I just been taking a chill since then, man. You know, I really don't look forward to even getting back in unless it's something that I feel like I like and love, like the sound of it. I was working with somebody that I'm like, yeah, I don't care about the money sometimes when it's that. It ain't even about the paper, it's just about the love for the music. So if I
Right,
if
but
I
in life we still got to be able to sustain ourselves and everything and provide for our family. So it's not like, yo, I'm trying to be stupid, crazy rich off of this, but at the same time, it's like you got to be practical,
sure,
with everything. But I can
sure,
tell, like just by talking to you, that like you have a genuine love, like a peer, love for this, for
yeah,
doing this, but it's the business, the politics, the other things that ruin it for a lot of people. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah, for sure. So, I did what I did. I had a good run doing it, and I'm still young at heart though. So anything's possible, but I just take it day by day. Like you said, we live, we earn so we can eat, and then we figure it out as we go along. I haven't closed the door completely. I'm just making my moves the way I got to make them now and seeing where things take me.
Right. All right, Smooth, man. I just want to thank you for your time. Is there anything you want to say to the people before we go ahead and wrap it up?
I appreciate you, Panda, for giving me the platform and the time as well. Just want to let everybody know that, like I said, man, I feel like karma is everything. We do for these people do for us. We love these people will love us back, and that's it. Love is love, man. Appreciate you.
Salute, my brother.